doing tonight? Okay, we have a continued public hearing, site plan review 18-09, and stormwater management permit 18-09 for 220 Main Street, map 44, parcel 178D. This will serve to confirm the applicant hereby requests that this matter be continued to December 4th, 2018 planning board meeting, and that the action deadline be extended to December 30th, 2018. Kindly contact me should you have any questions. So I take it they went ready tonight. Oh, okay. December 7:30? Okay, so we'll take a motion to extend public hearing to December 4th at 7:30 and action deadline to December 31st, 2018.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Thank you. There you go, Sean. Just a reminder, if you could please sign in. There's a sign-in sheet. And also, the meeting is being recorded so that, to help with the aid of minutes, just so everybody knows. Okay, you want to do Form A, Mink Run Road? Is that a yes? Okay. So what do we got?
You saw this, this parcel or this area of land a few months back, I think it was in the spring or last winter, where the 3 parcels on the corner were subdivided off. This is the remainder of that land. So we have a new lot 12, lot 13, and then what does that say, 88B. 3 additional building lots off of Mink Run Road. We checked the plans, engineering checked the plans, and everything is included on the plans.
Okay, meets frontage.
Yes. There's a hammerhead lot that goes to the rear.
Okay, take a motion to accept the Form A as submitted.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Get the pens out. There's only one drawing, right? Anything else that needs to be signed with the Form A? No, just making sure there was that. And what with it? All right. got 5 minutes, what else you wanna do? You got the, oh, we do have 7:40. I'm sorry, I stand corrected, thank you. All right, we'll make the clock on the wall leave for 10 o'clock.
This.
Okay. We have a public hearing, signed special permit, 18-05, 401 Andover Street, map R3, parcel 8. Mr. Wright.
Good evening. I've installed some wood file landscape permanent project in, I'd like to install 2-foot by 3-foot granite inlaid signs, low voltage lighting, I think down below, in front of my project.
It's good?
It looks good out there. The walls, you can see where the sign will go in the future. Low landscaping walls at the entrance. They cleared some of the trees and brush that we talked about with the site easement.
Right.
So you can see down the road when you're pulling out. It was just up there this morning and it looks good.
Okay.
It's not higher than the wall. It's not higher than the wall, it's just in the wall.
It's in the wall.
And they say Spruce Farm with a tree, right?
Yeah.
Okay. No questions? Good?
No questions.
Fine.
So,
Anyone here for that?
anybody here for that? I don't think so. Okay. You want to close public hearing?
Sure.
Ron, did that your cue?
Oh, so moved.
Second. All in favor? Good. So we have conditions there?
Yeah, we prepared a draft. It's our standard draft, but it outlines these specific signs in detail, the sizes and the placement of it. Everything else is a standard condition.
Mr. Wright, you good? Good. You're good, all right. We're good? We'll accept the conditions as drafted.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? We're all set.
Thank you very much.
Ron, yeah, you gotta sign that. So. Done. Give that for letter for now.
Sean?
I'm sorry. Okay, we got a 7:45, continue public hearing, site plan review 18-12, and stormwater management permit 18-11 for 911 Main Street. We have a request to continue. Dear Mr. Sorrentino, relative to the above referenced project, this letter serves a request to continue the hearing scheduled for November 13th, to the board's regularly scheduled meeting in December. By way of the update, I understand the engineer, Thad Berry, has met with the town engineer, Paul Aluni, to review some issues related to the stormwater management, and as of last week, I understand that Mr. Looney was satisfied with the revisions. I also understand that Mr. Berry is working on delivering formal submittals to both Conservation Commission and Planning Board, which incorporate all applicants' revisions. There's also a request to extend the action deadline to December 31st, 2018. Okay. We'll take a motion to continue the public hearing to December 4th at 7:45. And the action deadline to December 31st, 2018.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Yeah, good. Okay, what do you want to do till 8 o'clock?
The minutes?
Minutes.
Minutes. I read the minutes. They look pretty good.
I agree. I didn't have anything.
Have you read them?
Yeah.
Good, good, good. Take a motion to accept the minutes as drafted.
So moved.
Second?
All in favor? Minutes are square. Anything you want to jump to? Is anybody here waiting on something that we can take care of? Endorse plans for 900
Yeah,
Salem
we could
Street?
do that.
Does that work? Can we do it that fast? So, what do we just sign these, right? We don't need to read them. These are good?
Yeah.
How many pages? Oh, look at this. After all these years, they finally got it right. I'm only in the same spot, right?
I love it when they put it in the same spot.
Oh, yeah.
We try.
I know. It should be a requirement. Period. Will accept.
How's your daughter doing? Okay.
She's still on?
Oh, 3, 4 pages?
4 pages, right?
Okay. Yep, that's what I got.
got? Oh, what's this? Hudson. So we got an 81G application for 1 Hudson Street, map 7, parcel 82A. Robert Marini for Richard Rapecki.
To remind the board, this was, Hudson Street is Paper Street, off of Jordan Street, off of Salem Street. Jordan dead ends, at this property, 1 Hudson. And they have a paved circular half-circle driveway on their piece of the property or their private property. But the circle actually goes around to create a full circle. The piece of it is in the paper street, and that's gravel. So the homeowner would like to pave the gravel portion that's within the paper street and create more of a turnaround at the end of the street. DPW was in favor of it because it's gonna improve how they can turn around at the end of the street. We did ask for some changes to the plans in this decision. We can go over it bit by bit if you'd like, but one of the things was to include the radius of what they're proposing. I think you guys pointed that out last time, that there should be some sort of radius included. So we asked for that. They've already started making those revisions, so you'll probably see the plans for endorsement soon. And there were some other corrections to the plan, the zip code and just some small things. But other than that, we had some standard conditions in there.
These are the conditions that were set.
The work will trip a simple stormwater, so they'll do that prior to construction.
So take a motion to accept the decision as drafted.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? This, signing my name a lot tonight. Messy signs. What else we got? Release Sherry, you wanna do that?
Sure.
So what do we got here? West Jamaica Avenue.
This was an 81G, probably about a year ago now, or over a year. Extension of West Jamaica to construct a single-family home that was a tear down. And they're asking for surety released, the rest of the surety released.
Oh, okay, so the engineering division's conducted a final site visit in response to the letter from Dave McHugh dated October 26, 2018, requesting remaining bond be released for the above referenced project. Engineering division recommends the town release the remainder of surety being held in the amount of $1,271. Take a motion to release the surety as recommended by the town engineer.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? We'll hold off on inclusionary zoning until later.
Oh, do you have that cover sheet for the subdivision or the stormwater regs? So, when you guys voted on the, that change to the stormwater regs, we didn't have you sign the cover sheet, so, like we typically do. So we'd like to do that.
Sign it.
Yes.
Should we wait for David?
Yeah, we'll get Dave's signature next time.
But 81G next. What do you got? So we can
He'll sign it. Yeah.
That'll remind him.
You don't have to sign in the same order all the time.
All right, we got 5 minutes. 2 minutes, according to the clock, so maybe I'll synchronize my watch. There's the signing sheet. Just a reminder, if everybody, there's a sign-in sheet in the back table, if you could please sign in, we would appreciate it very much. Thank you. How's business, Shane? How's business? Some of them are going down. Some of them.
No, I don't know.
So I kept telling them, you know, you gotta sign papers, and they say pass papers, and I would still understand. It'd be grief, and he came back, oh, my hair was going.
That's great.
It's a big leap. Where's your office gonna be?
One will be on Lawrence. One will be on Lawrence. And one will be in Boston. It'll be okay. Yeah, try it.
I don't have one with me, it's lost. I'm lost already.
Yeah, how are you? How are you surviving?
Okay, we have a continued public hearing, 81D, application 18-01. Sherwood Road, map 8, parcel 18. Jonathan Lingone's the applicant.
Hello, for the record, Doug Lees from Land Engineering and Environmental Services, here representing Jonathan Langone and 74 Alexander Road LLC on the application for the 81G, the road improvements on Sherwood Road. It was last month we were in front of the board and had a lively discussion with the board and the neighbors, lots of good comments. We've tried to make some of the changes and provide some of the additional information that was requested on the revised plans. We've also been to the Conservation Commission for first official hearing for the notice of intent to do the roads. We met with them conceptually before we submitted the notice of intent. And we had some feedback from them, mostly regarding the wetland replication, the work within the wetlands, and the plantings that we're proposing within the buffer zone. Summarize some of the changes we've made to the plans. We've done some additional survey locating the front yards of some of the abutters' houses to show how the water flows away from the houses towards the street. Added their driveways and home locations to the plans. I also did a site visit during, was it Florence? When this rain from Florence came up and was coming through to view where the actual water was running down the road, and it seemed to follow the edge of pavements on both sides. It actually comes down Edwards Road from the top of the plan westerly and turns, flows right around onto Sherwood and flows down Sherwood on that side. And there was runoff that picked up along Sherwood on the westerly side and flowed towards the south. So some of the changes we've done to the plans, we had a vegetated swale proposed along Edwards Road, along Sherwood Road, and we've taken that out and just have a grass-filtered strip. We've raised the pavement just a half a foot or a foot along where it was first coming in. It's a little bit steeper now. We're flattening out the grade, which provides the water to flow off more naturally, and we don't really need the swale to kind of maintain more of the natural drainage patterns of what's out there today. We've also worked with the engineering, and we've come up with a replacement schematic for the existing clay pipe that cuts across the property to bring it within the right-of-way. Removing the swale removed the need for the second driveway culvert we had, so now the only runoff directed to the wetlands is the runoff that's going there currently. It's no new runoff, there's no new inlet to the pipe. It's just redirecting the existing clay pipe to a new HDPE pipe that's within the right-of-way and outside of the private property, so it'll be easier for the town to maintain in the future. And like I said, we have some plantings we proposed for the buffer zone right in front of the town property. We've shown the existing houses and the proposed house with the work for the septic system, the grading in the back of the lot, small retaining wall along the easterly lot line. We got a DPW review letter, some comments about some typographical errors on the plan. In one place we reference a 3-foot shoulder, and another place we have it as a 1-foot shoulder. It's 3 foot, we have to fix that. The invert on the new pipe is labeled wrong on the plan view and right in the profile view, so.
Let me read these into the record, so, good. These are comments from the town engineer. The typical roadway cross-section should call out compacted gravel in 2 lifts. The first lift can be 8 inches of bank run gravel, the second should be 4 inches of processed gravel. The binder and top course of pavement are errantly labeled on the typical roadway cross-section. The station location of the beginning of the roadway tapers should be identified for clarity. The roadway section on sheet 2 has an errant width of 1 feet for what appears to be the proposed shoulder, which is to be loam and seeded. It should be labeled so as to be consistent with the section detail on sheet 1. Go with that, Doug?
Yeah.
The proposed flared end invert elevation in the plan view is incorrectly labeled. It should be 122.1. The narrative contained in the notice of intent states that the 15-foot vegetated buffer is maintained. However, the proposed flared end section is located within the 15-foot buffer zone. A drainage trench detail should be added to the design plan. The roof runoff dry well elevations on the sewage disposal plan are errant and should be corrected. The impervious driveway area and roof area on the sewage disposal plan appear to be incorrect. The entire driveway area, including the paved apron within the right-of-way, should be used, and the roof area should be based upon the 30-foot by 40-foot house footprint, which includes the roof area over the crawl space. The recharge volume should be revised accordingly. A note should be added to the plans calling for the removal of the existing clay drain pipe and restoring the ground surface as appropriate. Setting of the roadway bounds at the corner of Sherwood and Edwards is warranted. Also, the front lot corners of the new building lot should be set prior to issuance of an occupancy permit and shown in the as-built plan. No issues with any of those?
Nope, those are all fine.
Everything should be penned, right?
Yep.
Good. There's a couple other comments, but they're just standard about notification for a pre-construction meeting and an as-built plan. Board have any questions? Good. Good, Sean. Is anybody here for this site plan review? Anybody want to ask anything? You want to come up and look at something? Come on up.
So is,
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, Jimmy Downs, 9 Sherwood Road.
Thank you, Jim.
Are we is the existing drain pipe being moved? That runs through the yard?
The existing drain pipe will be, yeah, it'll be removed and a new pipe will be brought in. The pipe comes across Edwards Road right here.
Okay.
That's across the yard to the wetlands. We'll put a manhole in to intercept the pipe and reroute it this way. And this pipe will be removed.
And where is, when you do that, where is the exit of the pipe going to connect into?
It's going to outlet right outside the wetland area where it currently flows.
To where? Just out onto the street,
No, to the wetland area where it currently flows.
where it flows?
Yeah.
So if you interrupt that pipe, shouldn't you have to have permission from the people whose yard are going underwater from it before you reconnect into it?
You mean the people downstream?
Yeah. What happens is this comes down, the water comes out now, it goes through the town, through the Edwards project, through town, then it goes into 10 Sherwood Road. Now, if you reroute that pipe, I should think you should have to have the permission whether you can reconnect and run it through the yard again. Because this isn't fair to them to keep putting this water on.
But it's not changing the existing condition, right?
Right, we're not changing we're not adding any water to the pipe or any area flow into the pipe. It's the same water that's coming through the pipe now. We're just moving the pipe at the request of the town onto the town right away.
But there's a number of years ago, I worked for a company in Woburn.
Yep.
When the city started building their landfill, they started forcing groundwater up into the where we worked. The owner took the city to court, to Boston Land Court, and the ruling came down that no city, town, municipality, or private entity can use somebody else's property to move or store their water. Isn't this what's still happening?
No, he's going back to the same condition.
But it's still coming through town property, and it's, you know, the argument's really theirs, but it just seems like this whole water thing has got to be taken out of this area to stop everybody from being constantly dealing with water. That's what I'm trying to get through.
I
You know,
understand what you're saying, but the pipe's outlet to a wetland, which is a water of the state, and there's federal jurisdiction over the wetlands now. So you really can't take out the wetlands and pipe the water like it should be done and like the residents of the area want it to be. There's really no way about doing that in Massachusetts anymore.
but you're basically doing it now by moving the pipe to the edge of the road, right?
No, we're not touching the pipe, we're taking the pipe,
You're taking the pipe from there, and it looks like you're bringing it over, and
but it's the same pipe. We're not increasing the wetlands, we're not adding flow to the wetlands, we're not taking the pipe out of the
Oh, no, I know
wetlands.
you're not adding-
We're
you're not adding
just
to it.
rerouting the pipe is all we're doing. We're just
I-
strictly changing the plumbing, rerouting the pipe.
I understand that, but the issue with this whole area is this place is constantly inundated with water. I mean, constantly. It's not like, I mean, July, yeah, you probably, June, July, you'd be all right, but coming this time of year, go up there now, and look what's sitting in there now.
But it's pretty bad.
It's bad, you know, and this is eventually all gonna start seeping down, every other basement, and I mean, I just think there's gotta be a better idea of doing something to get it, at least to go there, so it's heading to the swamps where it probably originally went. That's all I'm trying to get through.
Okay. Point made. Someone else? Just state your name and your address, please.
Charles Sylvester, 10 Sherwood, it's the one right beside the wetlands.
Yeah,
Right now, if you want to go in my driveway, about 40% of it's under 2 inches of water and it stopped raining. Putting another driveway beside there with water flowing into the street, coming down into my driveway, into my properties, another roof there, there's less land absorbing the water. It doesn't hold it as it is.
Which one's your house?
Mine's just the right of the wetlands, I'm right here.
Right there?
So 10 yeah, this is the wetlands, I'm right here. This area, my driveway comes in and comes across in this way, and the house is up here, and this whole entire area is underwater, 1 to 2 inches right now. My motorcycle tire's underwater, my car tire's underwater. Wear waders if you're gonna get in your car, because it's underwater. This culvert here, I didn't know there was one that was connected to it, but if they're adding one, that is putting more water. And the street, are they planning on paving that, or what are they doing for the media? Because if they pave it, it's gonna flow down even better than the crushed asphalt that's down there now. And then how do you blend it together when they stop it? And when they take out these trees that they propose in the wetlands, the maples and stuff, that's less grass and sand to absorb the water that's flowing down there already.
Well, yeah, the street is partially paved, the beginning of the street is paved, at some point, as it gets towards the wetland, it wasn't paved, and it's more of a hard pack, the grindings from the tillings from the road.
It
So-
doesn't increase it won't increase the flow rate.
There's no pavement on that street. The asphalt right here, Edwards ends, it ends right there, and it doesn't become asphalt until the next cross street. It's all crushed, the entire section, the whole block.
Yeah.
There's no asphalt.
Runoff won't increase, whether it's very minimal, if any. It won't increase if it's
I get any
pavement
more,
or
then
or
it's gonna
grade.
affect my septic tank next. That's on the other side of the driveway.
But he's not,
I got pictures in my yard, I didn't bring them with me.
I-
I can bring my, I have my entire
I
driveway
don't-
into my septic tank covered in water in some of these rainstorms.
but it's not gonna change.
It's gonna get worse. What's the recourse if it does get worse? Everybody says it won't, and when it does, then who's gonna fix it? Who's gonna maintain whatever they put in front of the town property? They don't maintain anything there now.
The town doesn't mean anything.
They do nothing there. Nothing's been done to it. Nobody's ever been to that in 9 years I've been here.
Okay. Anyone else?
Hi, Diane Sylvester, 10 Sherwood. You're talking about moving the pipe. Right now, when that pipe, by the way, the pipe is now covered with leaves, branches, and all that, which is kind of sort of diverting the water, which is now causing more of the water to come in our driveway. Like you said, pretty soon our septic system's gonna fail.
The way it is now is making it worse? Is that what you're saying?
Well, I believe the water's somewhat getting diverted, because right now we seem to be having more water in the driveway than, than before, like more often. So that pipe needs to get cleared. The other thing that it is there's kind of like there was like a gully stream in there that it went through and hooked onto the other pipes. You're now talking about moving that pipe, putting it out, which is gonna put that no place but right in our driveway, which is already a problem. Because then you take out the way that it
I'm sorry,
flows.
put what in your driveway, the water?
Yeah. Because right now, it's kind of when the pipe's not covered or, nothing's in front of it, it used to flow fairly well through that pipe, through the town land, which had nothing on it, into a pipe which goes under our land, into the neighbor's land, out to a culvert.
Let's go back to the beginning. The pipe, right now, goes across that land over to the wetlands, right?
Correct.
So now all he proposes to do is go around like in a right angle and get over there. He's not, so the increase of water is not changing.
It's, even if the water increases at all, like right now, this was today's,
I don't doubt that today was flooded.
that's not even a bad one. And our septic system is on the other side of this. So, that's the driveway with the bikes covered. But my problem is if you even move the pipe an inch, or put anything in front of it at all, it diverts what was the stream, which then went into the next pipe, under our yard, into the neighbors. So if you move it at all, our driveway's we're gonna have waterfront property.
Okay.
So, from my understanding, wetlands, you can't move, you can't divert, you can't do anything.
Right,
So I can't go clean this pipe, it's not on my land.
right.
So, I don't know if you wanna see them, but it's already bad.
I understand that.
So, pretty soon, if we get any more, it gets diverted, water's there, we lost our septic system.
Okay.
I'd say more, it's not a possibility, I'd say it's a probability.
Okay. I guess the question is, I don't see any increase in water going to the wetlands by diverting the pipe. It's the same. That's not a change. Putting a structure there, how does that alter the flow?
There'll be more flow down the new driveway.
Well, what we,
Right now, it sits in grass when it rains.
Okay,
Now it's
okay,
gonna flow down the
okay,
driveway.
we got you.
So there is more water.
We got you.
automatically.
what we're doing is we take the old pipe out, we wanna put riprap in front of the new pipe, so we're just pulling the grade out of the wetland. So right now, it drops off pretty good, you know, the pipe drops off, it's a foot and a half, 2 feet deeper in the wetland. We're pulling that grade back to where the new pipe is going, so that the flow will be going in the same direction, but we're pulling it back almost 50, no, maybe 8 feet, so we can put some riprap in as the outlet protection for the pipe to prevent scour and further erosion of that area. So the water's gonna be coming out, heading in the same direction towards the wetland. Essentially, we're gonna be making the wetland a little bit bigger by pulling the
What are
pipe
we
back.
doing within the lot to maintain water staying within the lot?
Within the lot, we have a roof recharge, and we have a infiltration trench along the side of the driveway to recharge the runoff from the driveway. It's a lot,
How much recharge are we gonna get since we're already in a flooded area?
but I mean, the house is up higher than the wetland. If you look at the grades, the driveway, the wetland is down at 122, 123, and the driveway's up at 124, so there'll be a trench flowing along with an area for the water to flow in. And then the roof recharge is gonna be up over in this area, and it's up at 124, 120, so it's, again, it's a couple feet higher than the wetland.
Well, I guess that's the argument though, right? If you're
Give
gonna
it,
be up
it's
higher,
nice,
then-
it's nice sand material in the back where we did the test pit, so, I mean, the water should dissipate horizontally. When it recharges into the ground, it's not a loamy sand where it just kind of holds the water in one place, it's just a high water table.
Paul, that program.
If you notice with, I mean, number 10, they have, the wetland flagging stops basically right at their lot line. So I think they probably have part of the wetland on their lot, which is, if the wetland's flooded, then it's gonna be flooding on their lot also.
Okay, anyone else? All right.
You want to continue it so I can make the changes?
These kind of minor changes, really.
We can either condition all of that, or
I guess the
have us
question.
change it.
No, I couldn't close the public hearing.
You still need an extension.
What's that?
Just handwrite them.
Why does he need an extension?
So action deadline is November 30th, so you'd have to vote on it
Oh, we don't
tonight.
we don't have the,
Right.
okay. We can close the public hearing.
You can.
Yeah, no. Two separate things.
We'll have to condition it all. All right, totally. Do you have any scrap paper? Can I borrow this scrap paper?
You know what, we're gonna, let me see the book. Open the book.
Or do like a 740?
We could go. No, you got 7:45 already. All right, we're gonna continue the public hearing to December 4th at 8 o'clock. I'll give you some time to make the corrections, and you're gonna need an extension anyway, so that'll give us time to come up with a condition, so you need to request an extension to December 31st.
Yep. that.
So we'll take a motion to extend the public hearing to 8 o'clock on December 4th and extend the action deadline to December 31st, 2018.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? So you good?
Thank you.
What do you need?
After they give us the revised plans, we'll drop.
You want me to read it?
Have to do more of those, potentially.
What's this?
Actually, maybe not, the rest of December.
Give what?
That's good. I think I won't have to do another handwritten extension.
Randy, one for you, one for Terry.
Is it signed?
I have to read this.
No, I have one, thank you. How'd you like my extension letter?
At least I give them. At least they sign it.
Who's this from?
You know, I did revise the definitive draft because we didn't name it.
You know, I did have
So it just said before
Did you name the road?
before endorsement, it needs a.
Why does it say 355? Because I think it's 362. It's 355, the address of.
Yeah, oh, that, it's their address, the applicant's address.
Because it's the
Well,
plan for
yeah.
362.
Yeah,
This is the lake.
but don't they have that in the title block? Yeah. This is the revised road. Here, you get one too. Sean got one?
What do you got? That's what is it? That's the decision. So what did you give me so far? You gave me this.
So this is decision for what?
I already got that. You already did. So,
That's an error. I corrected it, and the new one.
what is this? Match up. Okay. Just a couple of reminders, everybody sign in the back, please, if you haven't already, we would appreciate it. Secondly, just a reminder, this meeting's being recorded, just so it'll help us with the minutes only. We have a continued public hearing, definitive subdivision, 18-02. Site plan review, 18-06. Stormwater management permit, 18-08. 362 Middlesex Ave, map 89, parcel 6A. Mr. Osgood, you're up.
Good evening. Ben Osgood Jr., Ranger Engineering, here representing Bettering Realty for this project at 362 Middlesex Ave. Since your last meeting, we really haven't changed the layout of the plan too much. We've just addressed technical details with the planning department and the engineering department. The roadway layout has remained the same since the last meeting. The parking lot layout has remained the same. We've tweaked some of the drainage. We've provided a lighting plan with an engineer's stamp, and addressed, I believe, all of the comments of the different departments. So I don't know that it warrants a whole review of everything. I think we can go right to any questions that the board may have.
You've answered all the questions for town engineer. He has no questions, no comments. He's all set. Does the board have any questions? On the site plan? Pavement thickness, we revised.
Pardon?
Pavement thickness, we revised.
The pavement thickness has been revised. We've eliminated that waiver. We're down to one waiver, which is the width of the roadway and right-of-way, which we've seen is listed two ways in the bylaw.
Okay. Okay. You got anything you want to say? You good? Everybody's good? Anybody want to say anything? If you want to speak, please keep it to site plan review. State your name and your address. Please come up to mic.
Good evening, everyone. Frank West, 2 Birchwood Road, Wilmington. Just have a comment. I was kind of thinking about this recently. If you have somebody coming out of the building, in your driveway, and you have, say, a tractor trailer coming from 93, if the person, can I stand over there? You'll probably see it.
Go ahead.
If you have a car coming out here, and like a lot of people, they stick their nose out, waiting to try to take that left, and you have, say, a tractor trailer or a big truck coming this way, and traffic stopped, and that tractor trailer is parked right in the tracks, is he gonna have access to make this swing if somebody's like, just kind of driving in the middle, driving in the middle of this road?
Are you asking if a tractor trailer is going to turn up that driveway?
Yeah, what I'm saying is if a tractor trailer's here and a car is here with their nose out, is a tractor trailer prohibited from going into this building? Because you know yourself, cars aren't gonna be, if I wanna take a left, I'm not gonna be way over here with my car. I'm gonna be probably in the middle with my nose sticking out halfway in the road, hoping that somebody's gonna let me out. And my thought is that if a tractor trailer or a big truck can't make a swing and a train's coming by, that could create a safety issue. Is there enough feet that a tractor trailer could stop the width of, from here back and safely be away from the railroad tracks?
Number one, we don't feel that there'll be tractor trailers coming into this facility. Number two, I believe there is enough room that if a tractor trailer was to stop before entering the roadway, he would not extend over the railroad tracks. Number
Fire
three.
engine can make the swing. I think we already talked about. They can make the swing and go all the way around. So.
Right, they can get in the subdivision and go around the cul-de-sac without any problem, so.
But would it, let's say even if the tractor trailer wasn't coming in here, if they were gonna continue down 62, and there's a car with their nose out here, is there enough room for a tractor trailer to be in a stop position and not have any effect of the railroad track? Because that tractor trailer is what, 40 feet long, and I don't know what the distance is between where they would stop and the track.
I think there's enough room there for somebody to stop for a car coming out and not extend over the railroad tracks. I just don't think it's a condition that would occur.
It happens every day on Main Street. You see people that stick their nose out in front of Dunkin' Donuts halfway out on the roadway, and traffic is stopped, waiting for somebody to let them out on the opposite end. So it is a condition that routinely happens in Wilmington. Maybe not necessarily here today, but it could happen here in the future.
Okay.
And one other comment is there a snow wall? Where is your snow on this side here? Snow storage is up here?
Correct.
And there's no fence here, right?
Nope.
So when the snow melts, where does the water go?
The water will just run off
Run off
to the site towards the railroad tracks.
So could that create any type, especially if we have, like, 3 years ago, we had 101 inches of snow, could that create an adverse condition for the railroad?
No, the water runs there now, and it will run there in the post-development condition. It will not create an adverse condition for the railroad.
Okay, it's just because what I'm thinking is that if you have regular rainwater, that's one thing. You have a big snow mound that's melting, that's another thing. Just a couple of things for you guys all to think about.
Thank you. Good.
Anthony Saragosa, 25 Marshall Road. And looking at the proposed project, I took a look at the current assessor's map, and I have it printed out. It's from the town website. And superimposing this proposed building on it, I took a look and I just wanted to see what is typical in the town and what would this be. And so on this site, there'd be the 3 houses on Shady Lane and the 4 here. And I was just thinking, let me look around town and see what's been built, especially say in the last 20 years. Will there be anything similar where there's several houses that close to a new building, and I looked around, I went up and down, there's been a lot of construction in the last, say, 20 years. Route 62, Main Street, Ballardvale, Concord Street, Lowell Street, and I couldn't find anything close where there's that many houses. Then there was 2 instances where I saw one house that was anywhere near where these 7 houses will be to a new structure. And it just seems that this will be atypical to Wilmington.
Right.
And I took a couple of buildings in particular. One Church Street, we all know in the corner of Main and Church.
Okay.
If you go to an assessor's map and look at that, just look at the surrounding area, then look at what this will be. Once, just picture this new building on the assessor's
We
map.
understand that, but it meets the zoning for that area.
Well, I understand, but I'm talking about what's typical and what would be, why is there no other instances like this? Another example is 230 Lowell Street. If you, again, look at an assessor's map, you'll see it's a
understand.
completely different surrounding.
Yeah.
Those are more typical suburban surroundings. This, to me, looks like an urban design in a suburban setting. This building just looks much too big for the site. It's just something to think about. The other one is that we have a walk-in clinic, the medical center further down on 62. Again, look in the assessor's map, you'll see no residential anywhere near it.
Okay. Let's try to stick to the site plan, okay? Go ahead.
MJ Burns, 9 Pinewood Road. I have just a simple question. What assurances do we have as community, as residents, that this won't pose a hardship in the future should the size, the location, parking spaces? What assurances do we have that this structure in itself and the design of this lot won't pose a future or a future hardship in the future to what tenancies can go in there?
I don't know if I understand your question. What do you mean? What change of use, you mean?
Change of use or the ability to rent to a variety of different tenants.
You want to answer that? I mean, it can only change to what's in the zoning allowed for that zone.
Right, as far as the allowed uses, it would be any use that's allowed in the zone. I think maybe your question is,
Particular to the type of structure that's being built.
right.
And you've got the cul-de-sac, you've got the parking spaces. I don't know parking spaces. I know there was discussion before that there may, and this is not for this board, I understand, minimizing parking spaces. My aspect is that you don't want to create, because it's a new build, you also don't want to create a potential hardship in the future should the first tenants leave and the ability to rent to another tenant. You don't want the building so specific that it could potentially
The
create a...
next tenant would have to meet whatever the zoning is for that area, for that business. So I don't,
And often there's building changes that go along with that. So, right, so let's say the Rite Aid, right? What will that be next? The Rite Aid building that's empty on Main Street, for
the
instance.
Walgreens.
Or, yeah, so those buildings may change with whoever's gonna use it next, and they'll have to meet all the setbacks and, you know, let's say they wanna put a little addition on and they wanna add more parking, so they'll make the site work for their use, and they'll have to make it work for whatever use it is, and meet the zoning requirements for whatever it is in the future, but they can change it in the future to make it work for whoever the new use would be.
I just don't want to see the structure determining a potential hardship down the road. But the other aspect is I would like to see more buffering between the structure itself and the residential property line in back. That would encompass all 4 seasons, please.
Okay.
Thank you.
Ethan Sawyer, 58 Lawrence. We had submitted a letter
I'm
earlier
gonna read it.
today. Oh, you're gonna read it?
Yep.
Okay.
I just
You
thought
wanna
I'd give everybody a chance to speak first.
Speak first?
Yeah.
Okay, well, mine's kind of, I guess, a follow-up
Do
to
you want me to
that.
read the letter first and
Yeah,
then
if
you want
wouldn't
to
mind.
speak?
Yeah, yeah.
I don't mind. Does anybody else want to speak?
Kim, 9 Shady Lane Drive. Quick question. The lighting, that's a concern for me. What did you use as guidelines? Because we were told there's only 3 other rehabs, we'll say, in the state that directly abut a residential neighborhood. So were you looking at those other facilities to kind of decide the proximity of the lighting? Is it going to hit the abutting properties? What was your measuring stick?
So the lighting is, essentially, you have to have a certain amount of lighting just for a parking lot to be able to get in and out and to make it safe for the people who are using the parking lot. So you want to light the lot to a minimum, 3 or 4 foot candles in the outside areas, but you don't want the lighting to wash over the property line. So what the lighting plan shows is that the lighting is adequate for the parking lot, but with shielding and the way the lights are designed, they do not overflow onto the adjacent property. So we are not lighting the ground on any of the adjacent properties with our lighting
I think
plan.
you might have missed that meeting. I think when they submitted that plan, that was one of the comments, was to make sure there's no extraneous lighting going outside the property line.
My other question is, did the MBTA need to know about this project in case they wanted to require certain safeguards, fencing, any of that? Because it's running right along their property?
They're in a butter? I don't think so.
They've been notified as an abutter. They're on the abutters list.
And we can see that in writing somewhere, that they were notified?
It's on the abutters list, which is on file.
Okay? Sure.
Janice Sawyer, 58 Lawrence Street.
I'm sorry, what was the address again? 58 what?
58 Lawrence.
Lawrence, thank you.
I was also curious, like, all of the measurements aren't here, there's a few of them, but I'm assuming that this is a 20-foot setback to the road, and I'm wondering, I don't know how big this road is, but like, what's the setback here? Like your fencing comes down and over, and so what is the setback? Is there, also, you don't have the measurement
Right.
of what the road is?
So the road is 16 feet at the top, it's 24 at the entrance to the subdivision roadway.
Okay, so this is 16?
Right. I don't have that sheet. The zoning sheet shows you that the zoning line is right here. So this is also zone general business, so there's a less of an offset. So the offset, the more stringent offsets start right here at this jog, and they're up along this side. This is general business as well. This is general business, so the offsets are not as high.
The train is considered general business? Not,
It's the
way?
zoning
It's
delineation.
not considered a way in any way?
The zoning goes to the center line when it meets a right-of-way. So whatever the zoning is on each side of it, they go to the center line of the right-of-way. So it'd be general business.
Interesting question, though.
If you look at,
So this has the sideline, this is the sideline setback here, right? And that's a less amount? Isn't this considered a sideline setback?
From the side property line,
And it's,
side yard setback.
and
right,
that's
so if
on,
you look at sheet 4 of the plan set, that shows where the zoning lines are, and I didn't mark it. The zoning line comes across and then jogs up and then goes across the back. So the sideline setback here is only 20 feet to the building versus 50 feet along the residential zone. Same thing along the railroad track, because that zone line cuts across the railroad, then these properties back here are zone general business. So it's a 50-foot setback to here, and then it drops down to 20 on that side along the railroad tracks. And that's the building setback, and then the landscape setbacks, I believe, are 20 feet increased to 50 next to a residential zone. I'm sorry, 10 feet increased to 20 for landscaping,
20 feet for landscape.
right, next to the residential
for
zone.
residential, but this
Right.
10 is okay.
Because it's adjacent to general business.
Okay, good? Thank you. I appreciate you keeping it to zoning. I do have a letter. It is a little lengthy. Pardon my voice. Redoing my kitchen, there's a lot of dust, so I got a lot of dusty voice, yeah. Wilmington Planning Board. The preliminary subdivision plan submitted on November 27, 2017 was filed solely as a strategic move by Neelan's attorney, Mark Bobrowski, to grant immunity from the bylaw amendments proposed and voted on by the special town meeting on December 16, 2017. This immunity and/or exception from current zoning bylaws is commonly said to be a zoning freeze. Without the exemption provided by this preliminary subdivision, Neelan would not be able to build a detox or other substance abuse treatment facility on this site. The Handbook of the Massachusetts Land Use and Planning Law, written by Mark Bobrowski, states, once a choice of plan freezes has been made, it is essential to fulfill all of the prerequisites for submission, notice, and other procedures outlined in Mass General Law, Chapter 41, Sections 81K through 81-6G, the Subdivision Control Law, Section 5.04, specifically in the case of a zoning freeze established by a filing of a preliminary subdivision plan. Mass General Law 40A, Section 6, Paragraph 5 requires a preliminary plan to be followed within 7 months by a definitive plan. This paragraph goes on further to state that if such a definitive plan or an amendment thereof is finally approved, the freeze is in place for 8 years from the date of endorsement of such approval. The Handbook of the Massachusetts Land Use and Planning Law, written by Mark Bobrowski, states it is crucial to note that an amended plan submitted after the expiration of the 7-month window may not be entitled to protection by the zoning freeze, Section 5.04A1. However, in all cases where the applicant submits the first definitive plan after the expiration of the 7-month window, the applicant would not be entitled to protection by the zoning freeze established by the preliminary subdivision plan. Neelan has clearly amended the definitive plan outside the 7-month window. The plan submitted on 10/30/18 is very different from the definitive plan originally submitted on 5/25/18. This fact alone means the preliminary subdivision plan has failed to fulfill the prerequisites in the zoning freeze is not preserved. See Aaron Stam versus the Planning Board of Tingsboro, 29 Mass, application CT 314, 1990. The term definitive plan of a subdivision, which the required form and contents are defined by the rules and regulations of the particular planning board. I believe there is doubt as to whether or not the definitive plan actually meets the criteria required to be a definitive plan. The rules and regulations governing the subdivision of land in the town of Wilmington, Mass. was adopted by the Wilmington Planning Board on April 29, 1975, and then amended on June 1st, 2004, Section 3, Part C of these rules and regulations pertain to the definitive plans. Specifically, it states 22 items that a definitive plan shall contain. These rules and regulations were adopted for the purpose of protecting the safety, convenience, and welfare of the inhabitants of the town of Wilmington, as stated within the rules and regulations. I'll take a drink of water if you don't mind. In the October 2nd, 2018 Planning Board meeting, the board stated, a discrepancy was identified within the rules and regulations governing the subdivision of land in the town of Wilmington, Massachusetts, specifically in reference to right-of-way requirements with respect to minor streets in both the design section, Section 4A3, as well as the construction section of the subdivision regulations, Section 5B2, which requires a 50-foot and 60-foot minimum right-of-way respectively. We do not feel that these two sections are contradictory, although we do acknowledge that the construction section specifies an increased degree of requirements in the size of right-of-way, requirements for minor streets and subdivisions other than a residential subdivision. We respectfully request that the town employ town council to give an opinion as to the following. Determine if Bettering LLC has, in fact, submitted a definitive plan in both form and content as required by Section 3 of the Rules and Regulations governing the subdivision of the land in the town of Wilmington, Massachusetts. Determine what the earliest submission date is of a definitive plan conforming with all requirements of Section 3 of the Rules and Regulations. Determine if the date of earliest submission of a definitive plan conforming with all Section 3 requirements was within the 7-month window following submission of the preliminary subdivision plan as required by Mass General Law 48, Section 6, Paragraph 5. Determine if contradictory language exists within the rules and regulations governing the subdivision of the land in the town of Wilmington, Mass., or is it simply superseding and more restrictive language in respect to the requirements of a 60-foot minimum right-of-way plainly and clearly placed upon all streets in a subdivision other than a residential subdivision based on the fact that the specific language does not exist in the design portion of the rules and regulations, Section 4A3. Determine if the town council deems it advisable to waive the construction portion, Section 5B2 requirement of a 60-foot minimum right-of-way, plainly and clearly placed upon all streets in a subdivision, other than a residential subdivision based on the fact that this specific language does not exist in the design portion of the rules and regulations of Section 4A3. Determine if it is advisable for the board to deny the definitive the board to deny the definitive plan submitted on October 30th, 2018, because the zoning freeze was not preserved as required. See Aaron Stam versus Planning Board of Tingsboro, 29 Mass, App CT 314, 1990. Respectfully submitted, concerned citizens of Wilmington, Mass. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, with 10 signatures. Are you representing the citizens, concerned citizens of Wilmington, or are you representing yourself?
I'm representing myself. I'm one of the people who signed it.
Okay,
You read it a lot better than I could have, so thank you.
you're welcome.
I guess, I'm, just to kind of put that into context, because I know it's calling out more of the administrative and sort of procedural aspects of it, which probably people don't normally question. But, the reason it's so significant in this case You know, I think on the 10-2 meeting, I went back and listened, or no, actually, I apologize. When the initial preliminary subdivision plan was submitted, Mark Bobrowski said on 1/2/18, if the definitive plan is ultimately endorsed, the purpose of the preliminary plan submittal is to take advantage of the statutory freeze that will allow us 8 years to build out under the zoning in effect at the time we submitted the plan, which was the old zoning. We still need a special permit from the Board of Appeals and intend to apply for that shortly. You know, but it all hinges on the definitive plan. You know, and so in this case, it's very important that you guys closely look at, because I know usually it doesn't matter, because if they submit it on 5/25 and followed up on 10/30, if the zoning is all the same, the actual date of the definitive plan is kind of irrelevant. But in this case, it is very significant. So that's why we really want you to look at those details. And then I guess even for the engineer, if, Mr. Osgood, if you had kind of reviewed the town's requirements, you know, when you had submitted the 5/25 definitive plan, just to make sure it checked all the boxes as far as what's required to be included in a definitive plan, I guess is sort of a question that I have.
Are you asking if the initial plan submitted,
If he felt that it checked all those boxes as required to be a definitive plan. I know it said it at the top.
so I want to make sure we're talking about the right submission.
Sure.
So the submission that established the freeze, is that what you're asking?
No, so you have to follow up with, so the initial one, the preliminary, seems like that was fine.
So-
There's very
so-
minimal
So are you
requirements.
saying that someone could make a submission preliminary
And if you
to
don't
meet the,
follow,
to meet the time deadline, and that it can't be adjusted as,
no, and then
we
you could
move
drop the
on?
ball. If you don't follow up with a definitive plan, not just a piece of paper that says definitive plan, but an actual town-defined definitive plan, if you don't follow up the preliminary plan within 7 months, it's as though you're submitting a new plan.
Should, okay. As, I looked at this, and we were keeping track of the 7 months, and they did submit the definitive plan within that 7-month window.
The 5/25 one.
Yes, they submitted that on June 12th. They submitted their preliminary plan on November 27th. So they had until June 27th, but they submitted it on June 12th. So we were watching that.
The plan that was dated 5/25/18 was submitted on June 12th.
Correct, yeah.
And
Usually,
so, and I guess then my question is that plan, I mean, there's all the very specific requirements, you know, and I saw in one of the letters that there were a couple of items that seemed to be missing from that original submission that he then had to amend. So in my mind, if it doesn't include those, it's not technically a definitive plan.
so there's a difference between amending and revising. So amending would be after you have your approval, coming back to amend the plan through another process. Once a plan is submitted, you know, the town will write comments, give them to the board as recommendations on how we would like to see the plan revised. So that plan's revised through this process. An amendment would be a separate process.
I guess there are key elements. Now, they might make changes to it, but if there are key elements that are required to be on a definitive plan, so I mean, one of them I think is that it had to have the, you know, the lot and block numbers on the actual corner, like in the title. They weren't there. So, you know, if you're missing a component, is it really a definitive plan or is it just a rough draft? You know, you can't be missing all the required elements of a definitive plan and call it a definitive plan. I could write definitive plan on a piece of notebook paper and hand it
I don't
in.
think that would go. I think that,
You know,
That-
and so I think you have to have all the elements. So if there are elements missing, it's not a definitive plan. It just isn't, even though it says it is.
Right, so when we get a plan in, we do review it for completeness. and we treated this plan like we treat every other plan. So we reviewed it to make sure we have a checklist, to make sure that everything's on there. Anything that wasn't on there or needed to be corrected goes in the comment letter. So, and those are given to the board and sent out to the applicant. So that's the process, and then they'll revise the plan to include those things.
And to include feedback from, public meeting.
Yeah, and I get it, there's things that change as far as the actual zoning law, but as far as the
Originally-
requirement,
Originally, you had the bond. The bond went away, right?
Right.
Through the process.
and so, but I guess the bottom line is there were elements that were missing from that checklist.
If I could say too, the definitive, we're going through 3 processes here. We're going through the definitive plan, we're going through the site plan, and we're going through the stormwater. I would say that the layout of our roadway and the properties is not tremendously different than was submitted in the preliminary plan and at every plan. Most of our comments have been towards site plan and stormwater, which are separate permit application. But we did go through the application, and I think we met the submittal requirements for a definitive plan. The planning board would have the right to tell us, no, you don't, and send us home. But as long as we meet the submittal requirements and we continue, and I think Valerie's correct, there's an amendment. If we changed it and said, well, we want to do something different, that's an amendment. But we're just revising the plan and going through the approval process, so.
Yeah, the moving of the roads, the fact that there used to be 2 buildings, now there's 1, all that kind of stuff I don't really take issue with. It's that it was not a complete definitive plan in my mind. If it's missing anything that, because the state law says, and the state law is very basic, but it says that it has to include the form and content as required by the town law. And the town law has very specific requirements, just in form. Now, you can tell them to move the roads, you can tell them this doesn't work, that's all fine. I have no problem with those changes, but if it didn't meet that form and content requirement, just from a technical standpoint, to me, they didn't submit a definitive plan.
Okay.
And so I guess the only other question I had to follow up on that was, when I looked at the railroad, it's more that this is a sideline. So like you have a 20-foot setback along the road, right? Any right-of-way, public way, this is a sideline. To me, that's a 20-foot requirement for the pavement, and you've only got 10.
Well, that's not a public way. That's a-
The
that's
MBTA,
privately owned.
public transportation,
The setback is for the building, not the pavement.
there's a 20-foot setback for building only on sidelines?
The side yard setback would be for the building.
Not side yard, a sideline. So any,
He's saying that's a front line public way.
Oh, it's not.
Exactly.
No, it's not a front yard.
it's not a front yard, but it's a,
That's what it would be called. It would be, so along Middlesex Ave, there's a front yard setback. So that's the front of the property along the public way. The railroad right-of-way isn't considered a front yard. So it would be a side yard.
I thought there had to be a 20-foot setback from any public way.
Not
So
public.
a railroad right-of-way isn't considered a public way in that sense, but you're right, the side yard setback, I believe, is 20 feet, but they're meeting that with the building.
Yeah, I mean, that was the only other question I had.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Planning board, good?
Mr. Chairman, could I just say something, please?
All right.
I'll be really quick. Michael McCoy, 11 Treasure Hill Road. I've served on this board for 3 years. At the end of this term, I've served on the Board of Selectmen for 30 years. I believe the previous gentleman that just submitted the letter, there's a lot of validity in that, and it's very valid. Now, I understand at one point they were asking town council for their opinion, and I know it's been the history of the community where they say, well, town council works for the town. Basically, a town council is appointed by the Board of Selectmen, but in essence works for the town. And very seldom, you never hear it, town council, like the gentleman said, I'd like to get an opinion from town council. And I get you can't, as a citizen, get that opinion, but I see you have the power as board members to take that letter and to ask town council his opinion, if he thinks this valid. I believe what this gentleman just read, through you, Mr. Chairman, is valid. And I think you'd want to do due diligence. I would think it would be a wonderful thing if a member of this board said, you know, we've gone this far. We understand what they're saying. Let town council, a third party, take a look at that gentleman's letter and let him give an opinion what he thinks relative to the plan, timing, what was said, what was done, the date. Very important. I think you'd be doing a service to this community, but you have that authority and power to send that to the town council. And I think it'd be a great move if you did that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Good. Take a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? It's unanimous. Public hearing is closed.
Would you like to hear 30,
Yeah, probably should. So what do we want to do first?
It's up to you.
We can pass the stormwater, should be easy, right?
Stormwater's very easy.
Give me the stormwater. Okay. So as we said, there's three rulings here, right? Definitive subdivision, site plan review, and stormwater. Let's start with stormwater, since it's easiest. Can I stay with
Then I can't talk.
Go ahead.
Yeah? Okay. We supplied the board with a draft for the stormwater decision. Standard conditions, no waivers of stormwater were granted. The development shall not alter the flow of stormwater runoff leaving the site, nor shall it alter the stormwater flow to any adjoining properties, public ways, or wetland resource areas. Number 3, the development shall comply with the performance standards of the most recent version of the Massachusetts Department of Environmental Protection, DEP Stormwater Management Handbook. Number 4, the applicant shall provide and maintain erosion and sedimentation controls until the site is permanently stabilized. Number 5, the applicant shall inspect and maintain the site and stormwater management systems. Maintenance requirements for the site shall remain in perpetuity with the parcel. Number 6, to the maximum extent practicable, the development shall provide on-site infiltration and meet the recharge additional performance standards as specified in Appendix E of the Town of Wilmington Comprehensive Stormwater Management Regulations, adopted February 2nd, 2010, and last amended on October 2nd, 2018. Special conditions. Number 1, a stormwater pollution prevention plan shall be submitted prior to the pre-construction meeting. Number 2, erosion control shall be inspected by the Department of Planning and Conservation 2 business days prior to the start of construction. Number 3, the applicant shall give reasonable notice to the engineering division for inspection prior to installing any stormwater management system or any other critical design components. Number 4, snow shall not be pushed into stormwater management areas, and drainage structures shall remain clear of snow. 5, the operation and maintenance plan shall be recorded prior to the issuance of a certificate of occupancy.
Good.
What's next?
You want to do site plan?
Sure.
I'll do it. Site plan. Findings. Project site is shown on map 89, parcel 6A on the site plan. The site plan contains a design that is sufficiently developed to provide the basis for the board's determinations regarding the provisions, requirements, standards, and guidelines of section 6.5 of the Wilmington zoning bylaws and the board's site plan review rules and regulations. The development of the site, as set forth in the site plan and ancillary materials submitted by the applicant, complies with the provisions, requirements, standards, and guidelines of section 6.5 of the Wilmington zoning bylaws and the board's site plan review rules and regulations. 4, the applicant satisfactorily addressed the comments made or submitted by the general public and various town of Wilmington departments, except as contained in specific conditions that follow. The project requires a use permit from the Board of Appeals. Conditions. The following conditions shall be required at the applicant's sole expense unless otherwise noted. General. The project shall be constructed and operated in accordance with the site plan. The project shall obtain approval pursuant to, and be constructed and operated in accordance with all applicable local, state, and federal bylaws, statutes, ordinances, rules, and regulations. If no substantial construction has commenced within 2 years of the site plan approval, the approval shall lapse, and a new application fees public hearing will be required. Provided that if there is an appeal to the Board of Appeals and/or the courts, the 2-year period shall run from the date of the final decision on the appeal. 4, the provisions of this condition approval shall apply to and be binding upon the applicant, its employees, in all successes and assigns in interest or contract. The project shall conform to all existing Massachusetts laws, regulations, and applicable codes regarding fire protection and building safety standards. 6, any revisions shall be submitted to the Director of Planning and Conservation for review. If these are deemed substantial, the applicant must submit revised plans to the Planning Board for approval. 7, during construction work will not start before 7 a.m. and will be completed by 7 p.m., Monday through Friday. No work is allowed on Sundays and holidays. Construction equipment will not be started before 7 a.m. Prior to endorsement of the plan, the following review by the Wilmington Board of Appeals, the applicant must revise the site plan to show all changes, if any, required by the Board of Appeals. The special permit required for the proposed use must be granted, recorded, and added to the site plan. Prior to issuance of a building permit, the Wilmington Fire Department shall review and approve all building plans. The applicant shall file an approval not required plan to combine the parcels. Prior to start of construction, a pre-construction meeting shall be scheduled with the Department of Planning and Conservation and Town Engineer. The developer shall submit a construction schedule at the time of the pre-construction conference. A stormwater pollution prevention plan shall be submitted prior to the pre-construction meeting. Erosion control shall be installed in accordance with the stormwater management plan and shall be inspected by the Department of Planning and Conservation at least 2 business days prior to the start of construction. Abutting property owners shall be notified in writing at least 7 days prior to the start of construction. The rear property line shall be staked out. Prior to occupancy, all rooftop mechanical equipment shall be appropriately screened. Specifications for the screening shall be provided to the Department of Planning, Conservation, and Town Engineer. If such screening is deemed to be inadequate, the applicant shall appear before the Planning Board at a duly posted meeting to obtain Planning Board's approval of the screening. As-built plans shall be submitted to the Town Engineer and Director of Planning and Conservation in forms and format acceptable to them. The applicant shall give reasonable notice to the Engineering Division for inspection prior to backfilling any proposed underground stormwater management system or installation of any critical design components. All site work shall be substantially complete in accordance with the approved site plans prior to issuance of certificate of occupancy. Any event that winter season conditions prohibit final landscaping and/or finished paving course from being installed prior to tenant occupancy, the applicant may post a bond in a form in the amount acceptable to the Planning Board and Town Engineering Director. Covering the cost of completion. This will be considered on a case-by-case basis. The applicant must have received all other required department sign-offs on occupancy prior to eligibility. Post-construction. Trash pickup on the site shall occur during normal business hours. The applicant shall maintain and replace landscaping and fencing as shown in the approved site plan for the duration of the use. The applicant shall use best practices to maintain the required landscaping and fencing in presentable and healthy condition. The applicant shall maintain the project site in a clean and tidy condition, clear of debris, excuse me, and trash. All dumpsters located on the project site shall be enclosed by a fence and be of a side entry design. Dumpsters shall remain closed and enclosures locked. The applicant shall use good housekeeping practices as outlined in the operation and maintenance plan to maintain the site and keep it in good working condition. The applicant shall provide copies of completed maintenance inspection logs for the construction period and copied of logs of the long-term pollution prevention plan to the Department of Planning and Conservation. The project shall be operating in accordance with the operation and maintenance plan. The operation and maintenance, repair, and replacement of all drainage structures constructed pursuant to the project and located within the site shall be the applicant's responsibility. Snow in excess of the areas provided for snow storage on the site plan is to be removed from the site within 5 days of a snow event. Snow should not be pushed into stormwater management areas, and drainage structures shall remain clear of snow. The operation, maintenance, repair, and replacement of all drainage structures constructed pursuant to the project and located within the site shall be of the owner's responsibility. Final as-built plans in forms and format acceptable to the town engineering director shall be submitted to the engineering director and director of planning and conservation. Okay? Definitive subdivision. Decision. Standard conditions. Subdivision shall be constructed in accordance with the requirements of the subdivision rules and regulations, with the exception of the ways listed below, and any other applicable regulation of the town of Wilmington, including without limitation. State Wetlands Protection Act, Title V, and local regulations of the Board of Health, requirements of the Water and Sewer Department of the Fire Department. Any modifications to the approved plans must receive the prior approval of the Planning Board in accordance with General Law, Chapter 41, 81W. The conditions of approval of this subdivision and waivers granted shall be placed on the original plans prior to endorsement by the Planning Board. Following the statutory 20-day appeal period, the Planning Board will sign the original subdivision plans, which shall be recorded at the Middlesex North Registry of Deeds. Prior to the endorsement of plans, the following items must be submitted for approval by the Planning Board. A covenant or financial surety in the form of the amount acceptable to the Planning Board to secure the construction of ways and installation of municipal services, including required descriptions of mortgages and assents of mortgages. Required covenant shall reflect a condition that the work under the approved subdivision plan shall be completed within 1 year of the date of approval of the plan. Failure to complete the work prior to that deadline shall require a new application and definitive plan in accordance with the then in effect rules and regulations to be filed with and approved by the board unless an extension of time is requested and granted. Acceptable forms of grants of easements. Within 5 days of the transfer of ownership of the subdivision, the Planning Board shall be notified in writing of the new property owner's name and address. A financial surety of 10% of the total value of the work within the subdivision shall be held by the Planning Board for 18 months following completion of streets and municipal services to ensure maintenance of the subdivision infrastructure. Prior to the start of work under the approved subdivision, a pre-construction conference shall be scheduled with the designated agent specified by the Planning Board, the town engineer, or his designee, and any other involved community development departments. The developer shall submit a construction schedule at the time of the pre-construction conference. At the time of the pre-construction conference, the applicant may also be required to submit a soil erosion and sedimentation control plan, information on plans for stockpiling of earth materials and/or any plans for hauling of earth materials, if approved under the earth removal bylaw, for review and approval by the Planning Board or its agent. The applicant shall be required to show evidence that all required local, state, or federal permits and approvals have been obtained at the time of the pre-construction conference. The applicant shall assume the cost of construction monitoring and other consultant costs and fees incurred in connection with the ensuing compliance with these conditions. An estimate of hours required and cost of monitoring shall be provided at the time of the pre-construction conference. The applicant shall, prior to the start of construction, be required to place on deposit with the planning board an amount sufficient to cover the anticipated cost of monitoring by the planning board or its agent. Any remaining funds at the conclusion of the 18-month monitoring period set forth in Condition 6 shall be returned to the applicant. If additional funds are required, the applicant shall provide such funds within 14 days to the Department of Planning and Conservation. Prior to the release of any lots within the subdivision, the following conditions shall be met. The Wilmington Board of Health shall have approved on-site septic system plans. The construction of the roadways shown on the subdivision plan shall be completed to the binder course according to the phasing plan. Acceptable form and amount of surety shall be on deposit with the planning board along with the proposed schedule of releases. If partial release of surety is to be requested, the planning board may, at its discretion, require deposits to be broken down in amounts of anticipated requests for release. The applicant has agreed to maintain fee interest in the roadway. As-built plans shall be submitted for review prior to the final release of surety. During construction, work will not start before 7 a.m. and will be completed by 7 p.m., Monday through Friday. No work is allowed on Sundays and holidays. Construction equipment will not be started before 7 a.m. Blasting materials, if needed, must be reviewed for groundwater contaminants with the Board of Health and Fire Department. Notice of the start of construction will be distributed to abutting property 7 days prior to the commencement of construction. Special conditions. The following shall be required at the applicant's sole expense unless otherwise noted. All conditions of the site plan approval, 18-06, dated November 15, 2018, remain in full force and effect. The applicant has agreed that the proposed roadway will remain a private way that is privately maintained. All rooftop mechanical equipment shall be appropriately screened. Specifications for the screening shall be provided to the Department of Planning and Conservation and Town Engineer. If such screening is deemed to be inadequate, the applicant shall appear before the planning board at a duly posted meeting to obtain the planning board's approval of the screening. Prior to endorsement, the plan shall be revised to include any special permit conditions on the cover sheet. Prior to endorsement, the plan shall be revised to include a roadway name that is approved by the town engineer, town assessor, fire department, police department, and Department of Planning and Conservation. Prior to the issuance of a building permit, an approval not required plan shall be submitted combining the two proposed lots. The applicant shall demonstrate compliance with the NIPD's permit filing requirements and shall submit one copy of the checklist for the stormwater pollution prevention plan to the Department of Planning and Conservation and one copy to Engineering Department prior to commencing construction. The applicant or designated authority shall give reasonable notice to the engineering division for inspection prior to installing any utility, roadway subbase, pavement, proposed stormwater management system, or installation of other critical design components identified during the pre-construction meeting. All maintenance responsibility for drainage structures installed for this project within the private property lines will remain with the owner. The planning board has reviewed the request for waivers of the subdivision rules and regulations and approves or denies the same as specifically contained hereinafter. Approves a waiver of section 5B, paragraph 2, to allow pavement width of 32 feet and a right-of-way width of 50 feet for a non-residential subdivision street. Enclosed certificate of approval also enclosed that a covenant conveyance of easements and utilities. A recorded copy of the covenant conveyance of easements and utilities is to be submitted prior to endorsement of the plans. No issues? No questions? The board?
Can I make one comment?
You certainly may.
Every place where it says town engineering director,
I was going to ask you about that.
can we change that to town engineer?
Yes, that should say.
Okay. It should say town engineer. There is no town
I was
engineering
gonna
director.
skip it, but I
Yeah.
didn't think that was appropriate. Okay, I'll take a motion to accept the amended conditions for definitive subdivision, site plan review, and the stormwater permit. So as read into the record.
Second.
All in favor? You're done.
Thank you.
Was that only in site plan that happened? I think.
So, we did 3 things, the commission, we only have to sign 2 things? You sure? Positive. Andy.
Yeah. I think we found them all in the definitive.
Everybody left. I wanted to thank everyone for, I did want to thank everyone for being understanding and appreciate and sticking to the site plan review. So, we have an 8:30 signed special permit for 200 Ballardville Street. Who's up? Do we like his sign?
We do.
We do like his sign? Is anybody here to protest his sign? No? Anybody, any questions on the board about his sign? Sign is good. All right. We'll approve his sign. Good? Take a motion to approve his sign.
To sign. So moved.
Second. All in favor? The sign is good. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Most welcome.
We're trying to catch up,
Did you say the sign was okay? You're the boss.
Well, they were changing Verizon Wireless to Verizon.
It's okay.
Oh, yeah, is it missing a number or anything, or is it just part of the page?
Okay, we had an 8:40 public hearing, site plan review and stormwater management plan, 65 Industrial Way. Arthur, you're up. It's good to see you still walking and about.
It's been a while. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. All I'm trying to do is just build a drive-in ramp where an existing overhead door with a scissors lift exists at 65 Industrial Way. 65 Industrial, I'm not gonna bore you with the history, it's too late. But we already have 7 drive-in doors through the building. It's like Swiss cheese. So we have one more use where somebody needs a drive-in door, and that's all I'm trying to do, build a drive-in door.
This needs to be changed.
There are no changes to the exterior of the building other than the drive-in door and a forklift door, which I think is 6 by 8.
Forklift, well, can't park it inside?
I'm sorry?
I said you can't park the forklift
They
inside?
want to be able to, it's an engineering firm, they want to bring in something off a truck inside, so they want a forklift door rather than the drive-in door. I agreed to it, and I'm going for that also.
A lot more.
Yeah, Arthur submitted a revised plan this morning.
I did, yeah.
Yes. We haven't had a chance to look at it fully yet, but we did notice one thing right away about the open space. there's reference to a variance that gave permission for 9.9%, but you're showing 7.6%. So I didn't know if there was another variance given, or if you maybe need to make some of these extra spaces into open space.
Don't know of anything. Fred, are you aware of anything? No. Because we took all of the variances and listed them like you
Yeah.
told us to.
So if that's the latest variance that you got for open space.
Right.
You do have some extra parking out there as far as zoning goes. I don't know if it's,
Right.
it sounded like maybe it's extra
It's
practically too.
It's extra parking, but it's, how can I say this to you in a good way? God knows when it's going to be used and how it's going to be used, because I have no control over that. But I don't want to take the parking out and put in open space, if that's what you're alluding to. I'd rather have the extra parking and infringe on the open space as you see it, as you're looking at the print and as you're looking at the rules and regulations, rather than taking out some parking and then having a problem with somebody parking on the space and creating more problems for me, rather than having open space that you feel as though should be there as a result of the last print.
God, you're good at this. I didn't understand a thing you said.
Listen,
Well-
as long as I have my bran muffin in the morning, I'm okay.
Well, I guess you have a couple options, right? You can go back to the Board of Appeals for a variance for the 7.6%,
Yeah,
and try to get approval of that, for that.
okay.
But where you do have extra parking, I don't know if you really do, you'd have a hard time showing a hardship that you can't provide that open space. We just want you to meet whatever open space you're required to meet, which it seems like the last variance was the 9.9.
I would just assume, so you're telling me I have to come back to the Board of Appeals again in order to be able to put in the extra parking? To reduce the amount of open space?
Right, if you're not gonna meet the variance that you were granted before. So we're asking you to
How many
show
spaces
us.
would you have to take out, do you know?
Well, I'll tell
I
you
don't
what, if that's the case, boy, I don't know, you got me on
Well,
that one.
look at your
'Cause I gotta
options,
take a
right?
look
Look
at
at,
I
right,
gotta look at what
Right.
they're parking there now.
right, so, watch out, Randy, you're on your microphone.
You're on the microphone.
Sorry about that.
That's what I was saying.
Still there?
I know you're just learning, it'll take time.
Yeah, just tell
Only
me
been here
what
20
it
years.
is.
I know,
This is
you
like
think
our
I don't know
third
it?
recorded meeting.
I would
So-
just as soon have more parking rather than less parking, which means I have to come back to the board again.
To the Board of Appeals,
The Board of
to
Appeals.
show a hardship that you need a variance for your open space percentage.
How important is the open space percentage to this board? I mean, is there a hardship somewhere that I've created in the town by having less open space on this particular lot, which has been here longer than all you guys? I mean, you changed the laws, I didn't. So the question is, do we want the open space to show up, or do we not want the
Well, I
open
guess the
space?
question is, you got a variance to say 9%.
Yeah.
And you only have 7. So what did you do to meet the 9?
I'm trying to figure out how that figure came about, because I wasn't the guy that did that, the engineer did it, you know? That's a very good question, though.
Someone who paid.
Huh?
Is this pavement right over here at the end of the parking lot?
I can't see where you're, no,
Right
that's
here.
not paving, no, that's paving going out to the street.
Is this going out to the street? Okay.
Yeah, if you open it up a little bit more, you'll see.
All right, got it.
Can we
You got
figure out how many
driveway here.
spaces he's gonna take out? Maybe he could take it out,
It's
maybe.
like 4,500 square feet to get back to, you said 9.9? Yeah, it's like 4,500 square feet.
That's a lot of square
Space.
footage. Isn't it?
Yeah,
You got
but it's,
200.
if you want, yeah.
Yeah, that's a lot of square footage. I don't wanna do that to the site, because everybody's got an operating factor that they count on so many spaces for parking.
Well, you also have some awkward spots where you don't have parking, that's kind of wasted pavement space, that you could look at, putting some open space, so that you don't lose parking and can have more open space.
We might be able to do that, but I don't know how much space. Where are you talking about, anyway?
Are you looking at the diagonal right there?
Yep, and the one beside the spot, there's a place beside, there's a rounded spot, and,
This rounded spot.
yeah, down there,
Well,
over
the
there.
rounded spot is actually landscaping.
I know.
Right, you
We're
could-
trying to increase it.
Oh, increase the landscaping and take out the parking?
So we,
You're not taking out any parking, you're just taking out some paving.
Oh, taking out the paving and providing more space for open space.
so we can't approve they can't approve a site plan that doesn't meet either the requirements or your variance. That's the problem with that.
So did you submit a stormwater management?
Gene Sullivan did, yeah.
Gene did.
Yeah,
So
I had that.
that was
Actually,
submitted with the plan?
we're doing most of that anyway on our own, but I've got no
The
problem.
application was submitted, this request was for an O&M plan, just outlining what their practices are and how they can work in some maintenance and inspections, not asking for a new system or anything.
We're doing that anyway, for the most part. Getting back to the open space, though, that's a tricky question, I mean, because.
You got a lot of pavement here,
Yeah, there's a lot.
a lot of pavement.
If you look and see what was in the building before, you'd
You don't
understand
know
why
if he
there's a lot
answered
of
all
pavement.
those.
Most of them. I think the open space
I'd
was,
probably want to keep the parking, to be honest with you guys.
but if you can work out, looking at where you can keep the parking, but also carve out some of just the pavement that's not parking,
It's not parking, make it more open space.
to meet either your variance, to meet that 9.9.
But you're asking, if it's 4,500 square feet, that's a lot of space. That really is, that's a lot of space. I mean, you're asking me, for all intents and purposes, to take out one of these tenants. One of these tenants is 5,100, and they need 8 square feet in order to get the open space requirement. Why can't you get a,
That blue square right there is 4,500.
yeah, but I can't take that parking out.
Well, I didn't say take the parking out. I'm saying take this square, move it over here, rotate this parking like that. That's just striping, right? Rotate it like that, and now you have a 26-foot, 28-foot lane or something like that, parking on either
To be
side.
able
You
to come through.
You probably just gained a whole bunch of.
Fred, you want to take a look at this real quick? What Terry just came up with? Are you an engineer, Terrence?
Yeah. It's pretty easy.
Sometimes
Yeah, I fixed it, didn't I?
he pretends during the day.
I got him real good, didn't I? Go ahead.
So what do you say? That's 4,500 square feet right there. If you move that right there, rotate that parking like that,
So this block,
that blue block, yeah, I took
that's
half
the
the,
property.
I know. But I'm just drawing you a picture to get, an idea of how big 4,500 is.
Right. No, I think it's like 27 spaces roughly.
Yeah.
That he would have to.
Yeah,
And again, I don't know if he has
half the
27
28.
spaces more than what he needs.
But we're not taking out the spaces. That's
We're
not,
keeping the spaces in and trying to create
Telling you to
more
make
open
a
space.
parallel driving line here, so you go in and out
There you
and
go.
you pick up space behind
there
the
you
space.
go. Okay, that's a little narrow. Yeah, do it like that.
And then what about
Right.
this entrance?
I don't know, how
I
wide's
mean,
that gonna be
we
like
can play
that?
around with it, Arthur, if you want.
All right, why don't you? I just don't want to lose the parking.
Right.
There are times when nobody's there, and there are other times where it's packed.
It looks like there's opportunities for you to play around with the parking layout to get some open space.
That's 3,000 right there.
All right. How much you charging now?
Not enough.
All right, then the town engineer wants an O&M plan, an operation and maintenance plan detailing routine inspection of the catch basins and drainage system you have, so you take care of that too, right?
Yeah?
All right, so why don't you come next month we'll squeeze you in. On the 4th at 8:15, I'll get you in and out. Yeah, good.
And the O&M plan.
And the O&M plan and whatever they had
The O&M
asked.
plan is here, how do you approve that, or how do you,
Submit it.
oh, submit it
take it-
along with a print?
Yep.
I thought we already did with it, so that's all right, no problem.
Did he submit the plan?
We still have to look at your plan that you submitted this morning. And Sierra's saying here that what we think is open space is hatched for snow storage.
Right.
If you could provide a landscaping, or just clarify that that area is open space, whatever you're using as open space.
Just one of our comments was to show landscaping. So I don't know if it's important to show the specific trees and shrubs or just.
No.
the
Oh,
space,
no.
He hasn't
you know,
do that.
but yeah. it's
I
just
got
labeled
3
as
trees and
storage
5
right
shrubs
now.
on the whole side.
I believe that.
And 2 hydrants.
All right. Take a motion to continue the public hearing to December 4th at, what did I say, 8:15. See you then.
Very good, thank you very much, thanks for your time, guys.
Second.
All in favor?
Motion.
Motion.
So
We
moved.
already did.
Good, Ron,
He
unanimous.
moved, I second.
Good.
Perfect.
All in favor.
I think we're ahead of you.
I used to give a lot of
Me
money in
too.
high school. I used to give out scholarships. A lot of money.
God, I tell you, this packet's too big.
All right, we got an 8:50 public hearing, site plan review for 375 Ballardville Street. Mark, is that you?
No, I am his associate, Drew Garvin from Meridian Associates. I did not bring a board. I brought some 11 by 17s. I brought some full size. Do you need me to lay those out at all?
Yeah, we're good. You just,
One full size, anyway. Just a brief history. I don't know if you were all here about a year ago. We were in front of you for a site plan review to repave this is the FedEx facility at 375 Ballard Vale. We repaved the entire facility, improved the drainage, and added a new security building and a locker shelter related to that building. During its construction, the plumbing inspector brought to light that a bathroom was necessary. So the purpose of this is to add that bathroom. We tried to go in front of the architect, PDA tried to go in front of the plumbing board, and they dismissed it out of hand to waive the requirement. They dismissed it out of hand. So we are following through with the planning board just to get site plan review to add this bathroom. It's located where a rear sidewalk was already approved and built. I should say, the security building is constructed, the locker rooms are constructed, the locker shelters is constructed. There is no change in impervious area. It's sitting in that sidewalk area. There was no doors proposed there. There were just a couple of windows, so it really doesn't have any effect on the impervious area or impervious footprint within that area that was previously approved.
Does it impinge on access from the parking lot too?
No, you access it, because it's security, you access it from the front. There's a few doors there, and you come through turnstiles or metal detectors, and there's a number of doors on the backside once you are approved to enter the facility to go through.
So there's a fence or something keeping you from walking?
Yes,
Like
correct.
at this edge of the parking lot?
Correct,
you
yeah,
can't
the
get in
fence is
there.
actually, I believe, I can't remember, but yes, it is fenced off. You can't get from there to there without going through the building.
Okay, makes sense.
The bathroom is connected with just sewer and water.
yeah, so the only comment from the engineer was, he says the plan says proposed, but it's actually existing, is that?
Not the bathroom, no.
No, the sewer and the water.
Yes, the sewer and water, the stubs are existing to the rear of it, have been inspected by the town inspectors, were installed appropriately, so they're just ready to tie into that addition when it's ready.
It's not proposed, it's already there, right? You just
Yes.
want to connect it, so.
That's right.
He wants you to upgrade the plan for that, that's all. Just show it as, say it's existing, to be connected or something like that,
Okay.
all right?
Is that something that could be a condition of
Yeah, yeah,
approval?
yeah, simple.
okay.
Everything else is all right. No questions? Good? All right.
We'll move to close the public hearing. So moved.
All in favor? All right, we're good.
Thank you.
We'll go over the decision.
Huh?
Decision?
Sure.
Okay, so, there weren't any special conditions on this one, because everything is pretty straightforward. I guess the only, condition that we would wanna add in here is the one to change the plan to reflect the existing utilities.
Right.
So prior to endorsement, the plan will be revised to reflect that the utilities are existing instead of proposed.
Right.
And at this point, you're doing the work in the spring? Or,
I believe they're planning to build it through the winter. It's like I said, it's a fairly simple addition that,
Yeah.
7-foot by 8-foot
okay.
box. So, and the utilities are stubbed there, so it's kind of ready to go, assuming we don't get a harsh winter, hopefully, immediately.
Take a motion to accept the conditions as amended.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? You're good.
Thank you.
All right, 10-minute timeout. How we doing? All right, we have a 9 o'clock public hearing, site plan review, stormwater management permit 18-13 and multiple plan family. Special permit 18-01 for 635 Main Street. Map 40, parcel 1. Mass Equity Investors.
Thank you. For the record, my name is John Tillman, Waves Process Engineering. I'm here with Jackie in this area from Mass Equity. And Mike Procopio from Procopio Construction. Okay. So this project is located at 635 Main Street, Route 28, in Wilmington. So the parcel, this is actually the parcel, I have it highlighted in white, outlined in white here. It's the site of Compute Machine right here, in an outbuilding here. It abuts to the right, the Salvation Army building here. Across street, this little park here is the Colonial Park Mall. And then all the way to the left, the property line, is Butters Row, right here. And on the back is the commuter train line right there. So what we're proposing is a 49 residential unit site. In the front, we're proposing 10 townhouse units with each one having their own parking garage in the rear and parking spaces along the back of the parcel here. In the back of that is a 39 residential 3-story building here with a parking garage underneath. You can see the solely parking spaces down here. This parking garage will have 49 spaces, an additional 29 open parking spaces here, and with the 20 spaces for the townhouse, it'll be a total of 98, which gives us a 2-to-1 unit to parking ratio. The entrance to the site, I'll go back to the existing entrance site, but there's 3 entrances to the site now. We have off Main Street, this is the site to Compute Machine opening here. So there's 3 entrances to get onto the site. There's some parking here for some of the businesses and some truck parking in here. Very little landscaping, mostly pavement trees. On the proposed site proposal, we're showing one main entrance point here towards the left as you come to the site. This design is incorporated to Mass DOT standards. And you enter this site here, this way to the garage, and then down this end to parking. We're showing an emergency access here, which we gated. We're working with the fire department. They were looking for a separate access off the site, so we're proposing this here with a gated gate here and there. But we need to work with them, communicate with them as what they would require for access to that gate. So it's a work in progress with them. We're showing landscaping. There's not much on the site now, but landscaping in the front, along this right-hand side down here, and then back towards the rear of the property. This natural landscaping, vegetation in here. Here's the wetland line. We have a OBAD from Conservation Commission. We're showing additional landscaping here along this perimeter here. We're also proposing a fence, probably a 8-foot white vinyl fence on the right-hand side here, and kind of a privacy fence between the commuter rail line and this elevation parcel over here. So drainage site, observing the site, there's no drainage at all on the site. It's just there's no catch basin. It just kind of sheets off the Main Street into the wetland system here. So our design incorporates several subsurface drainage units here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's collected through a series of catch basins distributed to these Caltech chambers here. We're in the process of working the stormwater management. Some of the difficulties we had is that some of these proposed areas are where existing buildings are now, so we couldn't do some of the testing we needed to do. I've been communicating with engineering about that. He understands where we are. So at some point, we'll have to do more testing to finalize that drainage study. We're proposing sewer tie into Main Street here. Various individual ties into a main line here and one line into the residential building in the back. And same thing, water, municipal water coming down the main line and servicing these units here and servicing the building in the rear. Lastly, this is the drainage plan. It's in your set, but I colored it up so you can have a better view of it. So here are the two buildings, Main Street here. The red, I've highlighted the proposed contours. So everything is contained on site. Nothing is being brought out to Mass Highways. Utility features out here, the drainage system. Engineering did share with us, Mass DOT is making future roadway improvements here. They're 25% completed with the design. Engineering shared that design with us, so we're incorporating our entrance, our drainage to their future design. And it could be ways down the road, but we had to kind of keep that in mind and design accordingly. So the drainage we picked up through here, you can see the red lines here, brought to those catch basins, picked up and then distributed to the Caltech chambers. So that's a quick summary of the site. If you have any questions, Tom, I'd be happy to answer them to you.
So what does our buildings look like?
We do have some renderings.
Nice one.
This is here are the townhouse units here, so.
3 stories.
I know, so these are the 10 units here. This is the back, which will be the entrance to the site as you show me here. I'm looking this way. So this faces the garage doors, the top view. So as you come to the site, you pull in the garage here, and the front doors will be here. So the back units are kind of facing Main Street here. And then this view here shows, this is the view you see all along Main Street. So it'd be the back of the units. We have doors here, the deck and patios below. And this is a side view of the units. And then the rear, where the larger 3-story building is, this is the view you looking straight ahead at it. 3 stories, parking garage below. This view doesn't show the grades well because there actually be a retaining wall in the front here, about 6, 7 feet high. And the parking lot just below that here. So it's another view over here. It's a little, again, so it's different. We'll show a better version cross-section this time. It's not going to stand, but this is actually raised up higher. The reason being is the water table is fairly high out there, and with the garage, we had to raise it to keep it on the water table, which brought that back building up 6 feet higher than the existing grade back here. So we're proposing retaining wall, parking, 6-foot wall, access to the first units, and then the building behind it.
What's the height?
The Height, I don't know if he has it here, but I know he was, I think it was, you know,
34.6.
34.6 was it? I think 34.6 was the height.
35 code. So your first story though is, the lowest story is parking, and then it's 2 stories above it? Or is it actually 3 stories of
It's
housing?
3 stories, so the parking is the lower level underneath, which you access from the back down to the left, so. This would vary, like a basement, first floor, second floor, third floor.
Well, that's why they have to raise it, to keep them out.
Do that if they build a boat.
Guess. So, I have a lot of comments in front of me between the planning director and the town engineer. Should I read them? I think I've read this much since I was in high school.
Never read this much.
All right, these are from the planning director. Plan should be revised to include a map and parcel, deed references, abutters across Main Street, details for all proposed walls, curbs, fences, etc. Reference to the groundwater protection district on sheet 2, calculations of impervious coverage, any visitor parking spaces. The following additional documents shall be submitted to the Planning and Conservation. Floor plans for the proposed 39-unit residential building, traffic circulation exhibit, tree clearing plan, erosion and sediment control plan, environmental site assessment that have been completed for the property, phase 1 and phase 2, stormwater management report, traffic impact assessment evaluating both vehicle and pedestrian circulation. The following comments should be addressed. The plan should be revised to reflect the address of the property as 635 Main Street. The zoning chart shall be revised to include the special permit criteria for multifamily housing in the neighborhood mixed-use district, section 3.8.15. The applicant has stated that the lot area calculations includes land that was the subject of a right-of-way taking, and this area was used in the calculation for allowed number of housing units. The applicant shall clarify why this taking area was added to the lot area for this calculation. The property is located in the groundwater protection district and appears to exceed the allowable impervious surface area. See section 6.6.7.7. The impervious surface area calculation shall be provided, and the applicant should consult with the building department regarding any necessary special permit. Proposed exterior elevations for the townhouses facing Main Street should be revised to make them relate to Main Street as a front of the building rather than a back. The proposed decks and fences dividing the units should be eliminated. The applicant should consider elements more appropriate for a front of the building, including balconies and landscaping to provide privacy. The floor-level labels on sheet A1.02 of the floor plans for the townhouses are incorrect. The applicant should consider using pavers for the townhouse driveways to provide additional outdoor space. The conceptual rendering for the proposed 39-unit residential building does not reflect the size and design of the building shown in the site plan. The rendering shall be revised to reflect the access and grading shown on the site plan. Access to the 39-unit residential building is proposed as a series of long ramps, stairs, and retaining walls. The applicant should consider other design options. A circulation plan for the proposed parking layout under the 39-unit building shall be provided. A layout shall be revised to provide sufficient access, turnarounds, and sight lines. Parking proposed adjacent to the garage shall also be evaluated. The TIA should evaluate having 2 formal entrances, exits off of Main Street. The TIA should evaluate pedestrian access from the proposed development to amenities across Main Street. The applicant shall provide more information on trash collection and shall revise the plans to provide adequate trash and recycling facilities. The plan shall reference the order of resource area delineation, ORAD, approved by the Wilmington Conservation Commission on July 13, 2018. The proposed project includes filling 480 square feet of bordering vegetated wetlands. The applicant shall file a notice of intent with the Conservation Commission and provide an alternative analysis for the proposed impact to the BVW as well as a wetland mitigation plan. The applicant shall reference the previous negative determination issued by the Conservation Commission for unauthorized tree removal and confirm that the tree replanting requirements are met. The plan show the removal and regrading of debris piles adjacent to the BVW. Additional information is required, including proposed final grades, the limit of tree, and other vegetation removal, number of trees to be removed, and debris pile contents. Snow storage areas shall be reviewed and revised, including avoiding snow storage abutting wetlands. The applicant shall provide information regarding any proposed affordable residential units on the site. If the proposed fire access drive is to remain, the applicant shall provide additional information how the fire gates would operate. Wilmington Fire Department comments, if the access drive on the north is going to be gated, the applicant shall provide information on how the Wilmington Fire Department would gain access, such as location of keys for opening the gates. The applicant should evaluate the placement of trees along Main Street to maintain a landscaped streetscape while ensuring adequate fire access. The trees in the back of the building need to be sized appropriately so that they do not restrict access in the future for fire operations. Locations of sprinkler connections on both buildings shall be provided. These are comments from the town engineer. Town of Wilmington Engineering Division contact phone number is incorrect. Please correct. Project note number 3 indicates the vertical datum is on the Town of Wilmington datum. The Engineers Division is unaware of any locally established vertical datum. As such, the vertical datum for the project must be converted to NGVD 1988. Project note number 14 indicates foundation perimeter drains are to be installed per the plumbing code. The plan set shall include the proposed invert and outfall location of any foundation drains proposed for the project. Project note number 15 states that the stormwater pollution prevention plan is the responsibility of the general contractor. As such, the SWIP was not included with the stormwater management protection application for review. This did not comply with the stormwater policy, nor does it comply with the town's comprehensive stormwater management regulations. The applicant's engineer is strongly advised to read both regulations prior to any resubmission for the project. A site-specific erosion sediment control plan must be prepared in accordance with the aforementioned regulations and submitted for review prior to any approval granted for the project. Existing condition plan comments. All existing utility services, i.e. water, sewer, gas, for the parcel must be shown in the existing condition plan. It appears an 18-inch culvert extends on the Main Street from the subject parcel, 635 Main Street. The inlet to this 18-inch culvert should be investigated, field located and shown on the plan set for review. General layout comments. The proposed building appear to be too large for the developable area. This is evident in the poor site layout circulation and overall poor arrangement of proposed utilities and stormwater management systems. The lack of circulation within the proposed parking lot and the parking garage, 39-unit building, is concerning. Again, it appears the proposed buildings are too large for the developable area, which is limiting the ability to provide ideal parking access and internal vehicle circulation. The 3 parking spaces situated at the parking garage entrance are problematic. Vehicles backing out of these spaces will have limited visibility of vehicles exiting the parking garage. It appears that some parking spaces within the parking garage, particularly adjacent to the entrance, will be difficult to access. A vehicle maneuvering exhibit plan shall be provided that demonstrates access to these spaces within the parking garage. The proposed dumpster seems to be undersized considering the use and density of the development. At the Community Development Technical Review meeting, the proponent indicated that both Phase 1 and Phase 2 site assessments have been conducted for the property. We request a copy of each document for review. The architectural elevation provided for the 39-unit building is a misrepresentation of the building as depicted in the civil design plan set. Of particular note is the retaining wall that is proposed along the entire length of the building front facade, reaching approximately 7 feet in height at the building's front entrance. The board may wish to have the applicant's engineer and/or architect revisit the grading plan and building garage floor elevations to develop a more conventional residential multifamily building design. We note that the site lighting plan shows light spillage over the northerly property line. Per the town zoning bylaws, light spillage over adjoining properties should be avoided. Considering the multifamily use and likely shared use ownership arrangement of site amenities, the DPW strongly recommends granite curbing be used throughout the development. Stormwater management comments. The stormwater management permit application does not include the documentation as is required to demonstrate compliance with the Mass DEP stormwater policy. Therefore, the review of the SMP application could not be conducted at this time, and we reserve comment until this documentation is received. The applicant's engineer is advised to review the town of Wilmington's comprehensive stormwater management regulations prior to any resubmission. Prior to any resubmission, the applicant's engineer should review Volume 2, Chapter 2, Structural BMP specifications for the Massachusetts Stormwater Handbook of the policy and revise the design accordingly. The policy has very specific design criteria for infiltration BMPs. Particular attention should be given to the following. Infiltration BMPs must be set back 50 feet from bordering vegetated wetland areas. Infiltration BMPs must be set back 10 feet from property lines, building foundations, and any underground utility trench. The stormwater policy expressly states that stormwater BMPs may not be constructed in a wetland resource area, nor are proponents allowed to alter wetland resource areas to comply with the stormwater standards. We note that the plan proposed to fill existing wetland resource areas and replace with an infiltration BMP. This is not acceptable. On-site soil testing has not been submitted with the application. Soil testing should be provided within each underground infiltration system footprint per the policy to verify soil textural class, refusal, if any, and estimated seasonal high groundwater. The 3 test pits are required within the footprint of each underground infiltration system. The hydrological soil grouping D, HSG-D, utilized in the hydrological computation should be explained. The NRCS soil survey designated an urban land soil type with no HSG rating for the site. Typically, when urban land is encountered, the on-site soil evaluation results are relied upon to properly designate an HSG for the site. The applicant's engineer should select an appropriate HSG and be consistent for all calculations and computations. The applicant's engineer must check the hydrological model computation for completeness prior to any resubmission of the project. Pages containing pond routing computations are missing from the printout that are pertinent to the engineering division's review. Relying solely on underground infiltration practices as proposed may be problematic considering the difficulty in maintaining these systems coupled with their susceptibility to clogging. The applicant's engineer shall evaluate the proposed site layout for implementation of surface treatment infiltration BMPs for properly and responsibly managing runoff from the site. A snow management plan should be provided for review by the engineering division. We note the area label for snow storage within the plan set is unrealistic and conflicts with proposed landscaping. Utility comments. The proponent is required to contact the town's water consultant, Kleinfelter, to complete a hydraulic analysis study at the proponent's expense. The proponent is required to contact the town's sewer consultant, Arcadis, to complete a sewer capacity analysis at the proponent's expense. The proposed water main serving the development shall be looped back to Main Street. Fire protection services and domestic services are required to be separately tapped off of the proposed water main. The proposed water main shall be relocated from under proposed tree plantings to a more suitable location. See comment 7. Proposed site hydrant location shall be coordinated with the Wilmington Fire Department. The proposed MDC gas trap requires approval from the Mass Water Resources Authority. Traffic. Department of Public Works recommends a traffic impact assessment, TIA, be conducted for the proposed development. The TIA shall evaluate the development's access to Route 38 and impacts to the surrounding roadway network. The TIA shall include an evaluation of impacts and detail any proposed mitigation measures at the following intersections: Route 38 and 62, Route 38 Cross Street Butters Row, Route 38 and Lowell Street. The town has recently submitted a 25% design plan set to MassDOT, prepared by the town's traffic consultant Green International Affiliates, for Route 38 corridor improvements from Route 62 south to the Wilmington town line. The Engineering Division strongly recommends the TIA be peer-reviewed by GIA to ensure any impacts from the proposed development are properly evaluated, mitigated, and included in any subsequent MassDOT submissions. Of the comments, the applicant and designated authority shall schedule a pre-construction meeting with the Engineering Division to review construction schedule, permit drawings, and any permit conditions at least 2 weeks prior to commencement of earth-disturbing activities. The applicant and designated authority shall be responsible for notice to the Engineering Division or inspection prior to installation of any utility, drainage, or other critical design component identified during the pre-construction meeting. The applicant shall propose as-built plans to the Engineering Division prior to occupancy. So, it sounds like you got a lot of work.
Yeah, we know this is work in progress, and we know we're one of the first applicants to submit the neighborhood mixed use type. So, and we got a lot, that meeting helped us a lot because we had a lot of questions too. We got good feedback, so we understand what the planning board wants, Conservation Commission. And the typical thing we have was some of the drainage study issues, not knowing to provide the test holing, but we'll work it out. So, but you know, what you read, we got back from the meeting and we've actually started some of the revisions already. So we know what we need to get. Like I said, we know this is a work in progress, and I think we start from here.
So Jackie, is there gonna be the affordable units here or not?
Not on the site, no.
No. Okay. Board, get any questions? All right, it's a lot to do. I think we'll have a lot more comments next time. The board will have more comments. Yeah, right.
Okay.
Good.
Mr. Chairman, Ed Loud, 4 Allen Lane. You just asked a question about affordability. Can we ask them why there's no affordability? So when they came to town meeting to get this approved, we were told it was gonna be affordable to the residents in town, mainly the young people and the older people. And this particular developer has railed against the selectmen, saying it's a crisis that we have in town for affordable units. Here's an opportunity that we're gonna add 49 units to our inventory, and there's no affordability. You guys are the authority for the permitting this. I think you should do something about it.
You want to comment?
It doesn't make sense on the south side, the numbers don't work.
Why didn't you tell us at town meeting that then? Because you told us at town meeting, I voted for this project because there's affordability. And I've got a son that wants to stay in town, and he can't afford anything. And I was told then that these were gonna be cheaper than what's going on in town. Now I want to hear a different story, and that's wrong. And this board has the authority to do something about it.
Well, I know about that, but you know that we don't have any zoning bylaw requiring affordability right now, right?
Another thing this board should be changing a lot quicker than it has been. So.
Really?
Yep.
This project, when we went to town meeting, was never an affordable project. It was more affordable, which is not the affordable that counts towards your count. That's not how we proposed it ever.
Are you saying we want to define the word affordable?
Well,
So it's not affordable in the sense that it's below
less
market
expensive.
rate.
What are the apartments gonna rent for, and what are the condos gonna sell for?
I have no idea.
Well, we were told at the town meeting it was gonna be less than what the market rate is now, so. Town meeting was lied to.
Well, I can't comment on that. I can comment only on what we review, on the zoning. So, again, as you know, we don't do people's business plans. Their business plan calls for a certain thing, and if it works with the zoning, then it'll work. If it doesn't, then they'll have to make an adjustment.
So on the price for, these are all gonna be sales, the price in the building are in the threes for the 1 and 2 bedrooms, and then for the townhouses, you're in the 4s for new construction in Wilmington.
So they're not rentals, they're condos in the 39 units?
Yeah. They're all sales on the whole site, townhouses and the building.
No rentals. Anything else? What do we got? 8:45?
8:30?
Oh,
I already wrote it in.
okay. Okay, continue public hearing, 8:30 on December 4th.
So moved.
All right, see you then. And you better have better plans. Yeah.
I already wrote the next one in too.
It's yours. How come you dragging your feet on?
What?
How come you dragging your feet on the phone?
I'm not. I've got a draft right here to give to you guys.
Okay, we have 9:15.
If we didn't set the clocks back, right?
Site plan review 18-16, stormwater management permit 18-14. Multifamily special permit 18-02 and for 203 Lowell Street. Map 48, parcel 73. Mass Equity Investors. You're up.
Hello, for the record, Doug Lees from Land Engineering and Environmental Services, the surveyor and engineer on the project. This property, the board may remember, was previously approved as the barking dog pet care facility with the 2 restaurant pad sites. A restaurant here at the corner of Woburn and Lowell Street, another restaurant back here in the barking dog facility. This is the Textron piece. Lucci's Market is across from Woburn Street. The DEP site is behind it. Unfortunately, that project did not go forward. We're about ready to put the shovels in the ground and something happened and it fell apart. So we're back with a new prospective applicant looking at the property, and they were proposing a 57-unit, 3-story residential building in the back of the property.
57 units, is that what you said?
57 unit, yes. There was some questions raised at the department review meeting about the density calculation, so I'll be reviewing that. With the commercial building at the corner of Woburn Street and Lowell Street, it's a 3-story building. The center portion is 3-story, then it tapers off to 2-story and 1-story as it steps back in each direction. And a bank for the third site over here. Some may remember that the original plan had an entrance coming in off Lowell Street, the approved plan for the restaurants with the pet care facility. We kept that entrance there. We had a pre-submission meeting with some of the town staff, and it was decided that that entrance was too close to the intersection. It would be better if we could remove it, so we reworked the plan And we're realigning the existing entrance right now that comes into the DEP site. Right now, the entrance comes in at an angle. So we're gonna bring it in a little bit here, come through the site with a raised crosswalk or a large speed bump to slow traffic down, and then come back out to Woburn Street.
I'm sorry, Diane is dating for a second there, so go over the three buildings again. What am I
Sure. We have the presidential building in the back, 3-story with parking underneath. We have a bank, drive-through.
Oh, bank, okay.
Right here. And this is a commercial with office on top, retail, first floor. It's 3-story in the center portion, then it steps down 2-story, 1-story as it.
So we got 2 3-story buildings and
Yep.
one
And
bank.
one
It's gonna
bank.
be like, everything else we see? Banks we see? One level?
One level, yes, yep. One level with the drive-through. We have a potential.
Got a drive-through? Okay.
The bank, actually, we had the plans prepared without the bank, and the bank contacted me to see about the site, put them in touch with Jackie, and we redid the plans to include the bank.
So that building has the 59 units, we got parking underneath it again?
Yeah, 57 units parking underneath it, parking in the back, an entrance on this side into the park, and the site slopes up towards Woburn Street. So there's another entrance in the middle of the building, the main entrance for this building.
Parking? A lot of parking.
Well, we did, at the suggestion of town staff, we reduced the parking, we used shared parking for these two buildings right here to reduce the amount of parking. For the residential unit, we have, I think it's 120 spaces. It's a few extra, if you do 2 per unit, 57 units, it would be 154, 114.
What do we require for parking per bedroom or per unit?
Per unit, 2 per unit.
That is, I've been doing a lot of 40Bs, unfortunately, but they've been doing 1.7, and recently somebody came up with a whole new calculation that reduced it even more, but it hasn't been approved by anybody yet, so I'm not sure. I'm still trying to track where they came up with it. It comes from the people that produced the traffic study books, the Institute of Traffic Engineering, the ITE manuals. Anyways, but we did reduce the parking in this area by doing the shared parking as allowed in the bylaw. There's infiltration basins on site. We did test pits previously. It's all nice sand. We need to do more test pits. Because of course the systems never end up where you have the test pits when you do the test pits before you do the design.
So we have 2 means of access?
2 means of access, yeah. One coming in off here, and one coming in off Woburn Street.
Is that the same location that it was originally, on the originally approved site plan?
For Woburn Street, I think it might have been up about maybe 20 feet further up the street on the other plan.
We were trying to either line them up.
Did we try to line them up?
Offset by farther than that, I think, right? Sort of pick one to have them not offset by a little bit.
Right.
The existing one is pretty close to the intersection, so I think what
We
we did
wanted to
last
go a
time
little
was
farther away?
further away. It's something that we'd like the traffic study to look at.
Yeah, the town did request a traffic study. That was one of the things they wanted the traffic study to look at, the pedestrian and commercial on both ends.
Nice, we could put it up at the far end, move the building down maybe. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Well, no, I'm trying to take your comments as we're going along.
Well, I haven't read all the comments we got here. We got a lot more comments.
I was going to respectively request maybe if you could waive reading the comments until future submissions when we can make the list a little shorter for you and save you some time and some breath, but I don't know. I know it's the board's policy. I don't know if it's...
Does anybody have a fence if I don't read them?
We know this won't be the first time we see this.
There might be a few in here I might want to read. Go ahead.
I've already read them, and there's some in there I wish I hadn't read, but most of them are pretty much with what we discussed at the meeting. Again, we have the sewer that has just become active in Lowell Street, so the stub was left in the building. One of the comments is for me to submit a letter verifying that the flows that we use when we design the sewer pump station are what this site is designed for. We checked that as we were doing the design, so I have the calculation as submitted to the town to show that there's enough capacity in the pump station. We don't want to overload it so soon in the so soon in its process. We submitted landscape plans, photometric plans, the renderings we submitted. Town had some comments about the renderings, where it's kind of one of those cat and mouse things, where we're changing the building design on the site plan while the architect was doing the renderings. So now that we have a building layout that I think we like, the architect is working on making the renderings match the site plan more. What we submitted was a typical of what was anticipated. Again, they were changing back and forth while we were doing it.
When we see some renderings and stuff, I think we want to see the HVAC stuff too, where it's gonna be. We're gonna have, you know, those units gonna have outside units, air conditioners, whatever. Anything's going up in the roof, we wanna know about it, what we got.
Yeah, really, we just want to get
The other thing I wanna know is we're doing a big study between that intersection, make sure that whatever you're doing between Lowell Street and Woburn Street takes into account whatever the town's doing at that intersection, right?
Right, and actually one of the engineers from the engineering group was at the pre-submittal meeting we had to review. She had some, that's one of the reasons we did away with the entrance coming in the Lowell Street. And we made this more perpendicular. Still the easement for the sidewalk from the town. And then there's a, suggestion to have access to the front of the building. Maybe, provide the sidewalk now so that we're not putting a sidewalk in and the town putting a sidewalk in 10 feet away when they proceed with the intersection improvements.
What I see is green there is green.
It's green, yeah. I was gonna color in the asphalt. I figured that would look horrible, so I colored in the grass instead. There was a landscape plan. There's a lot of trees. I didn't transpose them onto my site plan. A lot of plantings.
The question about setback off a wall, wasn't it, off a Woburn, that distance? What were we gonna do with the road, the sidewalk, all that green?
That's Perry's Corner, isn't it?
Yeah.
Which, off of Lowell or off of Woburn?
I'm sorry, off of Woburn, I meant to say.
In that,
Yeah.
right of way?
We good there? Were we gonna need to widen that for the intersection?
Oh,
No.
we're finding a 50-foot
No,
easement right
he's
right
talking
here for
Woburn, I
sidewalk.
think Woburn.
Oh,
Woburn, we have plenty of room.
yeah, this is all
All of that is right
right
away.
away, all that grass area.
That's it.
And Lowell Street, they're gonna show the previously talked about easement, on the plan for the sidewalk. We didn't need much for along Lowell Street, I don't think.
No, well, the plans that you had for meetings seemed like the pavement was already there, just widening it a little bit.
And the idea was to eventually create some pedestrian access from that future sidewalk on Lowell Street up to the retail.
Right, to
commercial.
provide sidewalk access and something up to the parking lot. And then work out where the crossing for here was gonna be, because
Right.
there's a crosswalk up, I think up here, and there's one down here, so gotta work a way to get these people to come down, use the existing crosswalk.
The residential building, is that, for rent?
So is there a question on the open space percentage?
Yes.
Yeah, there is, there's 30%, I think, for commercial, 40% for the residential, and I wasn't sure, because it was a combination, we ended up at 38, so I figured, I didn't know if we could do a weighted average, but I was told that we have to be the 40, so we're gonna have to adjust.
Yeah, that makes sense.
40 for the whole thing?
40 for the whole site
Residential
as
development.
opposed to
Yeah.
a weighted average. 'Cause I mean, it's really the commercial that ends up more dense, and without the shared parking, it would be even worse, the open space, because we need even more parking spaces.
A lot of landscape islands.
How many tenants in the retail, in the commercial building, do we think?
5, 6, 7.
I guess, I'm thinking first floor tenants, the stores, retail stores.
I think it was laid out for 7.
So I thought 7.
It's interesting because it's an L-shaped building, your frontage is where you don't have access.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking of, yeah, is that there's a lot of.
Well, possibly.
Yeah, I mean, they're tough though, I mean, it's like,
Renderings show
I think it
access
just
in
shows
the
it from Woburn Street, right?
Visual access. Very interesting.
Talk about the tunnel. Is that a tunnel through the first floor?
Walk through.
So what are we doing again with 7 retail on the first floor and what's on the second floor?
Office space.
On the next 2 floors?
Yeah.
We got 3 floors?
So it's residential, I mean, retail on the lower level, then it's 2 floors above it.
Kind of steps up as it comes to the
Steps up through the middle, so.
No residential in there, though. It's all-
No residential. Although it could have residential, but they can't rent out the space.
Well, not if he's doing his sewer calculation, he's gonna have, based on what he's got.
So I think it was kind of discussed, but I think the rendering is pretty important in this case because as you drive in from the Lowell Street side, you sort of take a left with the bank on your left and you're facing the residential building.
Signage is big important too. I wanna know what you're doing for signage, so if that's what you're doing, I wanna know. We're putting signs in the building, directing people in, what are we doing?
Yeah, I think one of the comments was for traffic flow plan, so when we prepare the traffic flow plan, we can show the traffic flow signage that we'll have throughout the site.
So not just with signage though, it looks like the first floor of that building is 15 feet above grade as you drive in. And, which is gonna be, I don't know what that's gonna look like.
Yeah, what are we gonna have for heights here? We got
You know,
57 units?
I'm seeing on 94 right here, as you just turned left into the driveway. And 109 for a first floor. I have no idea what that's gonna look like, but it could look awkward. It's,
Could have a parking garage underneath it.
Well, yeah, there's gonna be a parking garage that's probably built up and landscaped, but make sure we show that on the rendering.
yeah, I mean, it's still gonna be 10 or 11 feet higher than the landscaping at that point, per this,
So it's
per the drawing, so
26 plus,
that's, I don't know, that's pretty tall,
pretty high.
pretty ungainly and almost sort of, I don't know, potentially, you know, against the intent of kind of the 40-foot number, but.
Getting close to it.
Yeah, probably want to see some site sections all the way through the site. You know,
Yeah, I think a rendering from that view
Down the
is
road.
pretty important.
what's the grade of the road
I
here?
can tell you now, that we go to retail on that other building, we're not gonna have another drive-through there. The only drive-through is gonna be at the bank, right? One drive-through.
Length of the building.
It's pretty long.
Yeah.
It looks like the other building down the road.
Is it the same?
Close.
Well, we did comment, I think on the same idea that if there's an entrance in the middle of the building for the garage, it won't look like what's shown there.
Right.
Right, because that entrance was added. Subsequent to me sending plans to we realized we should probably have multiple ways in since it was a long garage. Trying to keep up with each other when the landscapers coming in and
Yeah, so you should probably do a little bit of a site section so we get a better understanding from Lowell Street all the way to the back of the site how up you are.
like a section across the site, just
From Lowell Street up through to the back, because
That
you're going up.
drive goes pretty up, going to DP.
yeah, this comes up.
That goes up pretty
It's
steep.
pretty high back here.
Yeah.
This is those 3 parking lots that are there now, each one, they're pretty,
Yeah, that building, that could be way up there. I don't know if I like that.
Yeah, it's gonna look normal from the backside, from the parking lot, but.
But it's not gonna look so good from
I don't think so.
down on Lowell Street. It's gonna be way up there.
Yeah, I don't love it. I don't think from Woburn Street.
Alright.
Woburn Street's a pie.
All right,
10.
you guys say something, go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, thank you, Ed Lau, again, Full Mountain Lane. Did the board look at the previous, what was previously approved? Because I was on the Board of Appeals when they approved the 2 restaurants, and I could have swore we made them, or you guys made them, make the entrance parallel to the Lucci's. Is that something you guys will look at?
Yeah, we'll look at that. We did talk, I did talk about that, yeah.
I did hear you.
Yeah, we did talk about it a little bit, yeah. We're gonna look back at that. I'm not sure if we pushed it up to be farther away from the intersection. We'll have to go back and take a look at that.
And it might have been in the questions that were asked by the planning director and the engineer. Will there be a traffic study? Because that intersection is one of the worst in the, I believe it's an F already. Will there be a traffic study done?
I don't know, we'll have to talk about that. The, in that areas, we've done a recent traffic study, or 2 or 3, so.
We have one from the
I
restaurant.
think we have one from the restaurant, we did one. But it didn't include residential, so we'll have to,
The restaurant was several years ago. So,
Yeah.
how long do we let traffic studies be valid? I think it's important. 'cause
We'll have to take a
The
look.
intersection's an F and.
yeah, we'll have to take a look.
Going
mean, it
on
wa-
my memory, I thought there was gonna be sidewalks on Lowell Street and widening their side of the Woburn Street.
Yeah, there's gonna be a bike path and some other stuff in there, right?
I'd like to see if that could possibly stay. And again, it could have been asked by the planning director, is there any affordability? Again. As permitting authorities, I think we're, between the 2 projects that are in front of us tonight, we're adding 107 units. It's very hard to go back to the next developer and ask them to add affordability when we're not asking these guys to do that. And I know that we're trying to change our bylaws to make that happen, but it's not fair when we're gonna add 100 and something units to our inventory. We all know it's hard to get that, and our census is coming up. And the projections that the Board of Selectmen have gotten, I don't believe it included these 57 units. It might have included the previous project, I don't believe they included this one. So that's gonna be even tougher for this town to meet its affordability. So the next project, by the time these 2 are built, we're gonna be in 40B heaven. And that's what we don't want to happen.
Yeah, it definitely did include this one.
But
It definitely did include this
I
one.
know it did.
It did.
I know it did.
My understanding, though, is if it's all rental, all of the units count towards affordability. Is that not right?
If there's affordable units in there.
If there's 25% of
Yeah,
units.
25% of the units are below income, meet the below income requirements, like we did at the corner of 62 and Burlington Ave. All those units counted towards our inventory, because there's 25% income in there. There are people waiting to get into that building because I get hit up all the time. One of the affordable apartments or the condos coming. That's why I stayed until 10:40 tonight to put my say in this, because I heard about these, saw it on your agenda. I was told there was gonna be affordable, but I learned tonight there wasn't. That's why I'm upset. Because it's gonna be so hard for this town to add another 100 and, we're gonna have to add 30 more units.
Yeah, 25% of
Yeah.
57,
So
that's a lot of units.
It needs to be worked out somehow. I mean, you're already giving them a little for the parking, for the shared parking. I don't think that's, and then, I don't know, something has to be done. Something has to be done. The developers told us we're in a crisis. It's his turn to fix that crisis, or at least start the process.
Okay,
Thank you.
you're welcome. All right.
Thank you.
So we're gonna, what'd you say? 8:45 on the 4th. See you then.
Thank you very
So
much.
moved.
Second.
Voted.
Mike, what are you here for?
Taking recommendation for 11 Commonwealth. Oh, they did that first.
Board of Appeals, I say that again? Come on. I don't think we have any Board of Appeals.
We had it last month.
If I may, Mr. Chairman,
Sure.
there was an application that was filed for 11 Commonwealth, and the board offered a recommendation, but the original application that was filed was a special permit. Prior to the publication, the building inspector recommended that it be revised to a variance. We were then able to provide information and documentation such that the Board of Appeals heard the case recently, October 16th, I think, and the discussion was around changing a non-conforming use. One of the members expressed an interest in continuing the case for two specific reasons, one of which was to give the planning board an opportunity to review it and make a recommendation as based on an application of changing a non-conforming use. I submitted, in accordance with that motion to continue, I submitted a package to the town which I understood was going to be transmitted to the planning board, so, okay.
We received your original application that referenced, I think, a variance. Or it was the
Right,
one-
which this
Yeah.
board took a vote to recommend disapproval based on the lack of a hardship.
Right.
Right,
We didn't receive anything after that,
okay.
but I imagine it's the same idea? I don't,
Well,
we don't have anything.
No, frankly, the application, I think, is correctly characterized as an application for a special permit to alter a non-conforming use.
And
Based,
remind us again what there's a house.
Tearing down a barn and putting up a house that doesn't meet
Remind us of the
setbacks.
situation.
okay, so there's a lot that is located on Commonwealth Ave, which is and has been used as a riding stable dating back to 1952. There is also a house that at one point was owned by the same owner, and that's on contiguous land. And then land contiguous to that is a house that, again, was owned by the same owner. But essentially, as of 1954, all three of those uses and lots were conforming uses and lots and distinct uses. So, and in fact, since then, they've not been held in common ownership for quite some period of time. So the application was submitted as an application for a special permit, again, based on a recommendation that was changed before it was transmitted to the planning board. So based on that history and procedure, I was directed to submit a package following that most recent Board of Appeals meeting, which I did, and I thought was transmitted to the board, so, okay. All right, well, the Board of Appeals is tomorrow night, so I will indicate as much. Very good.
All right.
That's okay, that's all right. That's the way it goes. Have a good night. Thank you. Appreciate your time.
Oh, by the way, your house is looking real nice.
Thank you, we'll get there, we'll get there. So is Christmas, right? It's coming, but so is Christmas. Have a good night.
Good night. So is my kitchen.
Doing better than me, I've been working on 25 years for a new kitchen.
All right, so what do we want to talk about? Inclusionary zoning? That's why I thought he was staying. Oh, yeah, it's a couple things on
Sure,
there.
we can do your thing first. That's fine.
Town meeting, Labor Day. I don't like September 3rd. September 10th? Go with the 10th?
Yep.
And the other one was, we'll go with July 9th.
That's fine.
You're on vacation.
No, I'm just, rather do it on the second, get it out of
No,
there.
everybody's away that week.
Second is hard, because that's when they do all that
Fourth,
town.
fourth week.
Fourth week.
Fourth is on
Fourth the
Thursday.
ninth.
Yeah, but I leave the whole week, man.
No, they're overruled by the chairman.
You can have an absence that week.
I mean, I'll be here either way, I'm just saying.
Well, David's not here, so. I don't
Yeah,
know.
he won't be here at all. I think I'm going to Disney that week.
Okay.
just for the heck of it.
Is the
The
fifth
other-
election day again, the second? It's not a big one, so.
Okay, so I wanted to give you all an update on where we are with the inclusionary zoning bylaw. We held 3 workshops. They were sort of drop-in workshops.
Oh, why didn't we tell him that?
He was at one. He was. These are the handouts. I don't know if I gave you these before, but cheat sheets. And, you know, we had a decent turnout. I would say we had maybe, I don't know, 15 to 20 people at maybe a little less. 10 to
Definitely around
15 people.
for each one.
We did surveys, so these are the survey at the end of kind of their walk arounds. We asked them for some opinions on different aspects of the idea.
I remember I did take this one. Yeah.
What's that?
Yep. you did.
Okay.
Give me that.
And what we found was sort of what we wanted was kind of a gut check on where we're at with where we think we should be on our proposal and our draft. What came back for feedback was both sides of that. So I think we're right in the middle of where we kind of need to be. We're looking at possibly a 15% requirement, and starting that requirement at 8 units or more.
15%, is that what you said?
15%, because then, you know, what we've heard from some of our local developers is that there's a cost to providing affordable units, that they're not getting all of that back. Which, fair enough, that's true. And what we can do to offset that is provide market rate units on top of what they're already getting. So one of those questions on the questionnaire is, should we provide a density bonus to offset some of the costs? Most people actually said, yes, we should do, I think it was 1 was the most popular. And that's sort of what we thought too. If we provide a density bonus of 1 unit for every affordable unit, you're offsetting a bunch of that cost. I think, of course, developers would say, why not 2? But then there are folks who are gonna have concerns about giving any density bonuses. So, so I think we're kind of right in the middle of that. One of the conversations we've also had is that where to apply this, what types of projects. Everywhere in town or certain districts. Because what we've heard is that with single-family subdivisions, it's gonna be really hard to make the affordables work in those situations.
Yeah, but I think you've been treading water, or you're gonna be going backwards. Because we've had like 7 or 8, 26 housing subdivisions in the last 5 years. You know, quite a few.
We've had some, yeah. Then I started to think about, though, do we have a lot of them left?
Well, it's true.
So, and it's one of those things, I think that it's gonna be a real lightning rod on the development side, to not support it. So we have to weigh whether we think that's, you know, whether we, so where we're gonna get a lot of units
I'm sure
is
we,
these types of projects, right?
yeah, but I'm sure we have reviewed what we have for open areas and what's gonna be proposed for open areas, right? Textron is the obvious one, right?
I don't see that being a single-family subdivision, right?
Most
The only
likely
one-
mixed use.
The only one that's out there is
It's
Shrappa,
Shrappa.
right? What that's gonna be.
But what about, I mean, all along like Middlesex Ave, you got all those old industrial buildings that probably are gonna go away.
But I don't think they'll be single families. I think there'll be something multifamily if they're residential. So that was the goal, was to try to get what we think our next sort of clumps of units are gonna be. And are they gonna be single-family developments? And is that worth kind of pushing, or can we give on that? Because it is harder to get those to fit. Some developers, I know in one other town, they're doing duplex that looks like a single family to try to make it work. So it's just one building that looks like a larger single family that fits in with the other ones, but it's 2 units. But you know, it's, yeah. But it is more awkward. You put a lot more money into that structure and that development, and then you're not getting that much back. So it's hard to make those numbers work.
Is the reason for that because the houses are really big?
Yeah, that's
and
part of
they
it.
have to sell them for much cheaper than
Yeah,
they would normally sell them. And
Right.
if they built a smaller
The idea
house,
of the affordable is
they
supposed
would
to
sell
be-
it for the same affordable rate.
Supposed to blend in, right?
You're gonna lose money on an affordable no matter what,
But you lose less.
but you lose less. So whereas with apartments and condos, they're the same size, they're the same thing, right? So they fit in, you're not, it's smaller, you know, and it's within a building that you're already building. So there's less cost for that than a large, single-family on a 20,000 acre, or 20,000 square foot lot. So I thought, you know, are there so many more subdivisions over 8 units that we're gonna miss out on all these units? I don't know, maybe not. But yes, ideally, we'd cover the whole town with this requirement. But maybe we could start with the multifamily districts. So that's the idea. I have something to send home with you to look at.
Multifamily district, it's gonna be a new district.
Reviewed the draft you sent me.
No, the ones we have.
I have Rondi's
I already
comments
reviewed the
Oh,
draft.
perfect.
here, so.
Terry gave me some comments too. Thank you, Terry.
Yeah, I just,
And the reason we came to, so this is funny because you know that 2004 housing plan we did, or you guys did?
yeah, it's a long time ago.
So the numbers are still pretty good and the ideas are still great. That plan said 8 or more units, it said 15%. And it said you could do off-site affordables, but only if the planning board sees that there's a reason to do it and a public benefit to do it. It didn't recommend having a payment in lieu of providing those units.
Yeah, I think that's.
I don't, administratively, I don't wanna do that, because then the burden's put on the town to create those units.
Yeah. However, you know, off-site improvements, i.e. even in some subdivisions, if there was town-owned land available that they could put 3 or 4 units that were affordable. Yeah.
Yeah, but the town can't be responsible for that, they're not developers, they're not.
No,
builders.
I'm not saying the town develops it, the town provides the land
Land
to the developer to provide the affordable units.
That can also be tricky.
Of course.
There's, I think there's mixed feelings about using town-owned land for certain things, so, I'm still hopeful for the St. Dorothy site. Maybe doing something over there. It's a perfect site for an over 55, partly affordable.
Single level ambulatory units.
Or an
Getting to that
elevator,
age.
right? Like an elevator, yeah. But, so this is sort of what we thought would be maybe a first step. We chose the 15% because then if we give a bonus unit, you never fall below an effective percentage of 10%. You're always above that.
But we're looking at this to help catch up to.
I don't think it's gonna help us catch up. And I've been straightforward with everyone about that whenever I've talked about this.
At one point, we were closer to 12%, were we not, with all the 40Bs that we had?
It's possible. But we're losing units every couple weeks. The 15-year restrictions are all falling off now. And there's nothing we can do about that. That's just how it is. So
I don't know what the 15-year restrictions are. That's for the 40Bs, basically.
they were home rehabs, homeowner rehab loans that came with a 15-year restriction. And the owner at the time had to qualify. And then, as long as they owned the home, it would stay an affordable unit.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So,
But there are
but they were
restrictions on selling those, though, too, aren't there, on affordable units?
usually not with those. They just have to pay back the loan. So, so let us know maybe if you have feedback on this or want to.
You took out the bit about the duplex?
Yes. So we had taken that out before. Some of your comments, I realized that we had a more updated draft. Sorry.
I think I read the updated draft then.
No, we sent you guys both the same one.
Yeah.
But they were, they were the changes that they're in here as track changes, so you'll be able to see anything that wasn't in the first draft we sent you guys. So
Right.
that was just an error.
I just felt like the MGL is this is definitions. And then in the case of rearrangement, I think that belongs somewhere else.
Okay.
Because MGL is, you're describing what MGL is, Mass General Laws. It's
Yeah.
an abbreviation, so definition.
Yeah, I think it was just like the,
You're trying to cover yourself in the what-if scenarios, and
We also stole a lot of this from other towns because that's what we all do. We
don't reinvent the wheel.
Right.
no, definitely not.
So, but this is something that's very popular being talked about these days, so we're happy to work on it.
I'm a little biased. I mean, I have 4 kids in certain ages. I don't see them. I just, they don't want to come to Wilmington. They want to live in Medford and Malden and Somerville because they can take public transportation to go to Boston. That's where they work. So unless,
I live in that area and I do the reverse commute here.
which is good for you, really, avoiding the traffic. So it seemed to me that would be more.
No, I take the train.
I don't know if
I've
I'd
taken it
believe.
almost 40 years now.
Well, but some people, have expressed things like their kids who are my age grew up here can't afford to live here. But
What
they
about
do
the
want to live here.
seniors? The older seniors?
That's
and that-
different. That I would go with.
It's definitely
Because they like to stay where they're familiar and.
You're
Those
also,
social networks are hugely important and they lose them when they have to go off to some other town and live in a home.
we're also I'm hearing people who they never thought they'd say this, that they want an apartment, not a condo. They don't want to own. They don't want to do any work. They want to call someone and say, can you change my light bulb? And they come in and change the light bulb, which is
Yeah,
really
I'm getting to
nice.
that
See,
point
yeah,
myself.
yeah. So people who never thought that they would be wanting an apartment in town are wanting apartments. So, I guess the idea is that we need some options for people, but.
Well, I would agree. We need some more options. There's no question about that.
All right, well, I'm going home.
There's one more thing.
Request tonight.
I will assume, I guess, just correct me, but your approval of the 362 Middlesex project is sort of your recommendation to the Board of Appeals, that it meets the requirements of the zoning bylaws
Yes.
and was approved by this board with conditions.
It does meet the zoning bylaw.
Okay. We will report back to the Board of Appeals on that.
I fully expect them to.
All right, those guys want to go home.
Okay.
Move to adjourn.
Move to
Don't
adjourn.
make fun with the paper.
Oh, is that what it was?
Yes, that's what I was trying to say at the beginning. It's very loud on the other end when you do that. Yeah.
Sorry.
This is live?
No, it's fine. I should have said something before we actually all sat down.
We're adjourned.